Daniels 7 yards deep in his own end zone, and he's going to be sacked, and that'll be 2 points for the Bears. Terrell Bernard.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Looking to the end zone, he's got a man. Touchdown.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Over 900 yards of offense as Dalton gets it into the hands of C.D. Lamb. And he takes it in for another Cowboys touchdown. And an exclamation point here in Week 16.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
And Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Thursday afternoon. It's amazing over the last 8 days in college football, college athletics, the changes since the story a week ago on Wednesday that Oklahoma and Texas were headed or would be headed to the SEC and everything that's happened. Then yesterday, it kind of switches a little bit. A&M last night voted that they would accept the invitations of Texas and Oklahoma. The SEC has their meeting as well. Not sure if that's been not delayed or whatever might happen because of yesterday. Bob Bowlesby sends ESPN a letter with Torch's interference and threatening them because he has evidence that they have, well, that they've been a part of this whole thing and trying to break up the Big 12. And then on top of that, we'll have a minute in just a second. ESPN has responded to Bob Bowlesby. And then also I learned this, and I'm amazed. I put this story up earlier in the premium section and also on Twitter. Baylor's president, Dr. Linda Livingstone, and A.D. Mack Rhodes went to Austin on Tuesday to meet with Governor Abbott to explain to him. And by the way, this had nothing in the discussion, from what I'm being told, that really centered about Texas and Oklahoma. We know that ship has sailed. That doesn't mean that there's some other stuff legally that's going on with the Big 12, whatever. But they went down there to try to see if Governor Abbott, who, yes, they know, although some of you don't act like they do as a UT guy, he's the governor of Texas, but they went down there to say, listen, the state of Texas has more Power 5 conference schools than anybody. 5. I think North Carolina might have 4. Florida may have, 3. And then who else? And it was not, I don't think it was, based on just kind of me doing some due diligence to try to block the change. That's up to Bowlesby and Big 12 and all them. But they were trying to say that the state of Texas still has a presence outside of Texas and A&M, and that we should, Baylor, try and keep that, if they can, intact. I saw Houston fans, where the hell were you 20 years ago or 25 years ago? I get that too. I understand that. But right now is right now. And so how many of the responses were from UT fans thinking that this was to try to block them from the SEC? That's not the case here. It wasn't about you for once in your life. It was about Baylor talking to the governor, who probably has more important things on his plate, you would think, but he did give them an audience, and they had a chance to visit with him.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Smokey. I think maybe one of the problems was when this happened the last time, everybody was focused on everybody, the first thing that happened was the schools trying to sue A&M to keep them from leaving the Big 12, when they didn't do that to Nebraska and Colorado. Nebraska and Colorado paid their exit fees and left, or whatever they were at that time, which were far less than they are now. The focus became on, let's try to make A&M stay, and that was ultimately a huge waste of time and money. So now, knowing that you're not going to win that, and knowing that Texas and Oklahoma have already made up their mind and that the wheels have been in motion for a long time, don't focus on them anymore. That's a waste of time.
Exactly.
Focus on you and focus on the ones that are there, and then make sure that those schools are well positioned for whatever the next thing is. Because the last time was a tremendous mistake and a waste of time and energy and money trying to say that A&M should stay, and their legal basis was, well, out of respect for the state of Texas and football. Well, there's no legal precedent for that.
No.
It's not like, like tortious interference, which we're going to hear about in a minute.
Dr. Livingstone and Mack Rhodes were there, obviously representing Baylor, but it also sounds like, in fact, they were also there, as others around the state have done, to represent what Texas Tech is dealing with, what TCU is dealing with. And who knows, if you're a Houston fan, I know in 96 you were left at the front door, or maybe the back door, I don't know, or Rice or SMU. Well, who knows what happens if they can stabilize, remain Power 5, and if maybe one or all of you in some way can be a part of it. So it is kind of something that's connected to perhaps those fan bases as well. Now, ESPN has responded to Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby, and I was on the phone last night with a couple of people who are in the attorney, lawyer, law firm business about what he did. Here's the letter. Do we have it, Armstrong? The letter from the ESPN to Bob Bowlesby. Dear Bob, You got it? Okay. Dear Bob, this response to you, letter dated July 28 yesterday. The accusations you have made are entirely without merit, apart from a single vague allegation that ESPN has been actively engaged in discussions with at least one other unnamed conference, which ESPN disputes. Your letter consists entirely of unsubstantiated speculation and legal conclusions. To be clear, ESPN is engaged in no wrongful conduct, and thus there is nothing to cease and desist. We trust this will put the matter to rest. ESPN reserves all rights and remedies in connection with this matter. From Burke Magnus, who the letter from Bob Bowlesby was on yesterday evening.
Here's something I know is going to be disputed by the Big 12 Conference. The second to last sentence. We trust that this will put this matter to rest. No, it won't. Because if he really has something, which I don't think Bob Bowlesby's the kind of guy to stunt. It's not in his nature.
Well, even if, let's say he doesn't, even if this slows the process down for a week or a month, are you going to do that to your TV partner, knowing that if you don't have something with them, that perhaps there's something, then they can sit there and pop back at you?
Yeah.
I would think, I don't know, I'm sure, he's not an idiot, although some people think at times he's been. His attorneys at the Big 12 also, I'm sure, combed over this, just like ESPN did before they responded to him.
I know. Here's my assessment of Bob Bowlesby as a leader and a person who runs the conference. I think that he is unfairly, Dan Beebe was a puppet. That was what Dan Beebe was. Chuck Ninus was the bridge guy, and Bob Bowlesby was the guy they brought in. Bob Bowlesby is an academic and intellectual. He sees... His mind works on a plane that's way up here, right? And sports works on a plane that's kind of right here. And Bob is supposed to be the guy who kind of to bring those guys together. I think where Bob has gotten lost as the commissioner is that he is too smart for his own good sometimes. He's so intelligent and he has so many things going on that sometimes I think it prevents him from acting. Some people like to kind of sit and watch or wait or they overthink things. I think that might be his deal because he is, again, we've talked to him many, many times. He's a brilliant person. He's totally brilliant, but that does not mean that he's the best guy to lead something. Look, Jimmy Carter might have been the smartest president we ever had. I wasn't alive then, Smokey, you were. His presidency was fraught with problems. Doesn't mean he wasn't smart. It's applying those, that intellect in the right place, and I think that's where Bob Bowlesby's kind of gotten lost.
Yeah, maybe he's too smart for his own good. That's surely never something's ever said to me or I've been guilty of at all. Now, the YouTube chat going. Yesterday on YouTube, according to Armstrong, we were averaging 14 chat messages each minute for 3 consecutive hours. Thank you. On the text line, 254-339-1122, also the same number to call the show, and we'll take calls from you. And I think 35-plus states have been a part of the show the last week about a lot of what we're talking about. The text line last night, I spent an hour yesterday evening responding to a lot of you who are watching the replay and texting us, and thank you, along with those who have already started texting, in fact, today. All right, so that's kind of to set the tone for where we are. Cecil Hurt has been working at the Tuscaloosa News, covering Alabama everything since, I think, 1981. That's the first year I got into the business, so I know he's old like me, and it's been a long time covering the SEC. He'll join us at 3:30. Sports attorney Dan Lust at 4 o'clock to kind of give us some legal ways of maybe explaining it in layman's terms. Mickey Spagnola and John Macho to cover the Cowboys in California, 4:30 and 5. And Craig, who's not here right now, he had to go to an insurance claim at a local car dealership, should be here anytime to be a part of the show. By the way, thanks to Three Nations Beer. They sponsored our Big 12 coverage 2 weeks ago. Heard from John Royer today. They've extended their advertising with us in marketing and also support as a sponsor through the rest of the year and into the Super Bowl month of January/February.
Also, as of Monday, we'll welcome BetUS.
BetUS, absolutely.
To the program, and that's going to be some exciting stuff. So you gamblers out there, get ready.
One more thing on ESPN and all of this. Armstrong, do we have the Dan Le Batard, who does a show, he's part of ESPN for a long time. John Skipper, who ran ESPN for the longest of time.
Essentially created what they are.
He's now a part of the same group with Le Batard and has a show. So there was like a 21-minute interview that a lot of you sent to me. I listened to all of it, and it's all about the coming and going and the power struggles and turf wars and all of that. But this is just a clip when Le Batard asked John Skipper about all of this, whatever you want to call it. For some of you, exhilaration. For some of you, it's nightmare, and some in between, just drama and chaos. Here it is.
Is this all the instigation of ESPN? Is this all your fault?
I'd like to take the fifth. Do I have rights? I don't know whether my rights apply here on freedom.
Just say you got hacked, John.
Okay, say I got hacked?
Yes.
Okay.
Taking the fifth is always a great way to end the segment.
All right, so that's John Skipper with Le Batard on that show. Tonight, the NBA draft. 2 Baylor players expected to go. Davion Mitchell early, and then possibly Jared Butler in the first round as well because of the health clearance he got a couple of weeks ago. We had both of them on multiple times throughout the year and also during the offseason.
Before we get to our callers, by the way, Nebraska, I think, becomes call and text. We need to keep a map of like what we've gotten call and text. You both. So I think Nebraska gets the double check mark here in a second. But what John Skipper is saying there is like he's pleading the fifth because, yes, this was ESPN's plan all along. This is Disney's plan. We had a great caller yesterday from Pennsylvania, Charlie, that said, look, this is all about the monopolization and what's going on. And the cover it's given us, this is capitalism. It's not capitalism. Monopolies are not capitalism. It's cronyism. And Disney. And look, I think we're all kind of part of this where there's something that we want that a big company has done for us, so we kind of ignore the bad things they're doing. Like, for example, I'm a fan of the Marvel movies. I want to see a good Fantastic Four movie. Disney bought it. Great. Well, what did that mean? That means that they bought the RSWs, they meant all these things, and they vertically integrated everything down with ESPN, meaning that they can do these crazy things, right?
Yeah. They just gobble. And, it's interesting. By the way, in that interview with John Skipper, one of the things he mentioned is the Longhorn Network kind of was created by ESPN, although UT went to them for this. ESPN said they wanted to do it because that was part of adding money to their bank account for Texas because they didn't want Texas to be a part of the Pac-12. So there's a little bit of background. UT did nothing wrong. They wanted something. They went to ESPN. They got a bunch of money. Good for them. They're one of the few that can do that. All right, here we go.
Their ethics on it might have been weird, or they could have gotten a Big 12 network, but okay, if you swing a big enough stick. AJ in Omaha, Nebraska.
Thank you, AJ.
You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, guys. I actually just found your show within the past couple of weeks, and I think what you guys do are amazing and have some of the most level-headed conversations that I hear. I did have a question kind of regarding, I would say, this entire Big 12 thing and Bob Bowlesby. As a lifelong Husker fan, who still cheers for, a lot of Big 12 schools. When everything was going on, I would say regarding Missouri, Nebraska, Colorado, and A&M, why didn't the Big 12 get proactive? I would say maybe a conference network or maybe, expanding to 14 teams. And even now, it sounds like I'm hearing people say adding 4 teams to get to 12. Why not try to make the jump to 14 or 16 like some of the other conferences and maybe get that head start instead of always being defensive and start getting offensive or, on the offense for once.
AJ, that's a great question because but the Big 12 has never been proactive. Part of the problem was getting a conference network was made more difficult because of Texas and the Longhorn Network. So if you went to ESPN and said, hey, we'd like a Big 12 network, like, well, we really just wanted Texas. And that's kind of what happened, and Oklahoma was going to share a network with them. There was some bullcrap story from DeLoss Dodds that before then he initially went to A&M and said, hey, let's do this together. And A&M was like, GTFO, we don't want to do that. That's not what we're going to do. And so then, they had they weren't proactive. They've never been proactive. The Big 12 has very rarely in its existence been proactive. So they got desperate when A&M left with Missouri, and so they were down to 8 teams at the time. They said, we got to get to at least 10 to make our schedule work for next season. So they went out and got teams that were also in the same boat and brought them in. But then after that, they stopped being proactive. They are a reactive league, and they're not proactive. They've never been that way, and it's hard to envision them without a massive change in leadership and philosophy being that way.
Yeah, that's it. They've always been, they're always in reactive mode, and that's what they're doing now. A commissioner, you would think, I don't know if anybody in the SEC, then back to the calls and text, 254-339-1122. I don't know even the most powerful of the SEC teams would ever have tried to pull this off. Not that they would want to leave, don't get me wrong, but if in fact they were unhappy and started to talk to somebody else in another conference, along with a member of the SEC, you think Mike Slive wouldn't have cut their body part off? Or Greg Sankey? Yeah. I mean, gone, bye, see ya. They don't react. They are proactive. The Big 12 has usually been proactive. That's one of their problems. All right, 254-339-1122.
Jeffrey in Temple, Texas. Jeffrey, thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, what's going on? I used to listen to y'all all the time when y'all were on 6060 when I was working in Waco. I've been gone for a while, for a couple of years, so I didn't even realize y'all left 1660 now. And I miss Q too. I haven't heard him in a long time either. But anyway, they get to my point. Now I'm a Texas fan, so I'm sure I'm looking at this through the orange-colored glasses. But there's one buyout that everybody's forgetting to talk about that might even everything out, and that's the one thing the SEC probably told Texas they can't have, and that's LHN. So LHN is probably going to be absorbed by the SEC network, and but still, that's if I'm ESPN, I'd probably go to the Longhorns and say, yeah, we're going to take away Longhorn Network, but here's $170 million to for that buyout, and they could just send it right over to the Big 12. But also, if I'm Texas and OU, like I said, I'm a Longhorn fan, so I might be looking at this differently than everybody else would, but I'm not paying that whole – I'm taking this court because I'm not paying that whole $80 million per team because, yeah, if I want to go in 2020, that might I'll pay that $30 million or a third or whatever for that year, but then I'm going to tell them, hey, I'll pay you a third every year because I don't want to pay that $80 million and then the Big 12 just hang around for 2022, and then in 2023 they dissolve, and then these schools are getting that other 2/3 of that money for free, for nothing.
Well, so first of all,
I don't know the legal of it, but.
All right, okay, thank you. You got a lot of dates wrong, and you got a little bit of the information wrong, but it's great to have you. And we've been here since April of 2020, so sorry you've missed us for the last 16 or 18 months, but we're here every day. ESPN owns the Longhorn Network like $80 million. Texas is not going to give that up. And if it melts into something else, if it even does, even if I hear that there's not going to be a Longhorn Network, I'll believe that when I actually see it. All right. Another two. If the Big 12 dissolves, if Texas and Oklahoma have done what they've done and they've now put it in writing, and they eventually, whatever year they leave, they pay the full year. They pay the full amount, the length of the deal, and then if the conference then voids itself out 3 out of the 3 years into the 4, I don't know. I don't know why you get your money back.
No, look,
right now, and a lot of things we're forgetting about as well. Paul, I shared a thing with you and Craig. There are penalties on top of the grant of rights type figures that people sometimes forget to mention.
Yeah, the penalties is what they should hope to have to get waived. That's the grant of rights, it should be the very minimum thing that they have to pay. And I think that both schools should have operated this believing that they should have to pay the whole thing, or hoping that if they, if it went the other way and they had to pay it all, they should know that that's a distinct possibility. The thing is that when you say, I don't know what Texas would be paying for on the way out, that's precisely what the Big 12 is saying that ESPN is doing. That's what they're accusing them of, is trying to interfere and break up the conference so that they don't have to pay out the money that they owe. That's the benefit to ESPN for the Big 12 going away, is that they don't have to pay out the rest of the TV contract, and they can roll that money into the new SEC deal that includes Oklahoma and Texas. That's what they would want, because it's $1 billion over 4 years. So that's not like something you just go, like, I don't care how big of a company you are. If you owe somebody $1 billion, that's not something you just get back. I mean, you can't just go to Chrysler and say, like, hey, we appreciated your $250 million ad buy last year. How would you like to quadruple that so we can break even on something? So that's not what's going to happen. So I would say that, yeah, they have to pay the full thing. And Texas is going to get made whole. Like, they're going to get made whole in this no matter what happens. So Texas and Oklahoma should not worry one little bit about the money they should have to pay, and they shouldn't worry about it at all because they went and did this knowing it was a possibility. They will be made whole. So Longhorn fans and Sooner fans concerned about what about the money we're going to have to pay? My God, you swallow dimes and crap quarters. Don't worry about it.
Devontae from Chicago. Good stuff, Paul. Here go Wildcats. What if other Power 5 stick it to the SEC by saying they want to keep the 4-team playoff and just let the SEC beat the crap out of each other because they need these other conferences to improve playoff expansion? So why don't they block the playoff extension? Well, that's kind of too late for that, too. I mean, it's kind of like you let a bunch of cattle inside the fence, and now you can't get them out. That's just a matter of time. And Sankey's on the committee, as is Bowlesby. And that's so weird.
He just sat across from him.
All
these Zoom meetings that they have.
Like Russia, China, and the United States all in the same room and acting like they all love each other.
How many times, like, Greg Sankey,
who's China, who's Russia, who's the United States?
Muted his microphone and turned off his camera because he had to go talk to Texas and OU.
Cecil Hurt will join us in the next segment, but we take more of your calls. He covers Alabama.
By the way, happy to have guys like Jeffrey back. By the way, Jeffrey Q is in Vegas now, living his dream. And Matt in D.C., you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
What's up, Matt?
It's going to be a fun day when that Texas and OU both pay us all $100 million because I think we're going to get the 80 and it's going to be damages on top of that. And that money is going to have to be in escrow if I probably think about it a little ways. But my main point today is about like toxic people and toxic friends. I'm sure we've all been on a team or at a place where work where you show up to work and say you work with a group of 10 or 20 people and everyone comes to work, same idea. They show up on time, do their jobs, and there's always like that 1 or 2 person in your group that just is always in a bad mood, doesn't want to be there. And for some reason, eventually they leave or you get fired or whatever. And after that, everyone works together and everything's good. And I think that's what's going to happen if the Big 12 can stay together. We're getting rid of 2 of the toxic people, not necessarily OU, mainly Texas, because they were toxic in the Southwest Conference. They were toxic in the Big 12. When they go to the SEC, they're going to be toxic there. They're going to be miserable. You're losing because you haven't looked in the mirror and fixed your own problems. It's not the Big 12's fault you've been losing for 10 years. It's your fault. OU is going to be fine. They're just doing what's best for them. But I think once we get rid of the toxic people in your life, everything just gets better. And if the 8 can hold together, and whatever we do from there. But that's the main thing. Just, hey, see you down the road. Let's move forward. And one more point is looking at the teams we possibly could get, if the Big 12 is going to poach, let's be proactive. Houston, overall, yeah, we may have some problems with recruiting, but the main thing I look at as far as schools is a team or a school that continuously invests in their program, is always building, consistently winning. I mean, looking past the past decade, 20 years, Houston's always in a bowl game. They went to the Peach Bowl in 2015. They've made great hires. They just got hired away to bigger programs. I mean, I'm sure if we are looking at Houston, Mac's going to have all the information. So overall, if it's a good school, good leadership, that's what we need more in the Big 12.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. And believe me, Mac Rhodes is a part of that leadership that might be as much someone who's driving the nail as the commissioner or anybody else, based on what I'm hearing as well. I'm not saying he's the one making decisions, but a lot of people are leaning on him, and he would know Houston. He would know Boise State, Jeremiah Dickey, who worked under him for such a long time. Are the remaining 8 teams truly committed to staying together and fighting ESPN, the SEC, Texas, and OU? I don't think they have any other choice.
Yeah.
They're not. They have no other choice. Either they do that and still die, but at least die trying, or they sit back and let somebody walk all over them, walk out the door, and take all the furniture with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they are. And that was Nick from Indiana's question. That's something we'll ask Dan Lust is how hard is it going to be to keep 8 schools together on a lawsuit when there are, I mean, even non-ESPN outside factors that could be in this, or the fact that ESPN has already, planted the seed. Who knows how fast that grows, or how many people get paranoid, or at the first sign of, oh my God, this isn't going our way, do people bail?
And Mark from St. Louis, Missouri on the text line, with the teams that left because of the fact that they left, they didn't like the way things were being run, or opportunities for them, any chance of them coming back? Nebraska, no. Even Big Ten's 50+ million. Missouri, they're in the SEC. A&M is in the SEC. Even if you go back to the days of Arkansas, they're getting all of this money in the SEC. And Colorado, I don't know. I think they pretty much fit out west with the Pac-12 anyway. One more call, Paul, and then we'll take a break. 254-339-1122. Cecil Hurt covers Alabama and the SEC, will join us in the next segment.
All right, Steve from Idaho. You're on SicEm365 Radio. What's up, Steve?
Yeah, I just wanted to give my take on this. Right now, for the Big 12, they only have one way to control their destiny, all the teams in there. They can sit back and they can hope that, maybe West Virginia can hope they get into the ACC, or Iowa State can hope that they get into the Big 10, or Texas Tech and Oklahoma State can hope they get into the Pac-12. But that's not really taking control of your destiny. And this is a crappy thing that's happened to them, but they have to take charge. They have to seize the day. And the only way to do that is to come up with a plan, and they've got basically 2 options. Stay at 8 teams and potentially be written off in the future in terms of being a Power 5, or expand themselves. And there are teams out there that are good that they can get. I know I'm from Boise, and I know Boise State. I'd be shocked if they didn't jump all over that opportunity. And I know they don't have the TV market per se in terms of population, but you can have if you had the Florida Gators performing like Vanderbilt over the last 15 years, how many people are tuning in that gigantic market? Not very many. But when you've got exciting teams playing exciting football, people will tune in, and they could pick up UCF. They could pick up Houston. Houston put some good competition down there back in Texas. And you remember back in the day, Houston was a powerful school. And Joe Montana played them in the Cotton Bowl in 1979, and they were a powerhouse then. There's no reason why they can't return to glory. And I know that Texas and OU are gone. You're not going to replace that money. You shouldn't even bother trying to, because that's not realistic. Take what you can get, grow, develop help the new guys that you bring in grow and develop and become a powerful conference again, and take control of your own destiny.
Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate your opinion and feedback. Yeah, right now, what they all need to do is see what can happen when it comes to their grant of rights, penalties, and perhaps whatever they might, if they do, have on ESPN. And at the same time, they are talking, making calls, looking for maybe other options, either for the conference or themselves. But they got to be careful. If they're fighting 2 teams that are trying to leave, they're not fighting Texas and OU. They're gone. but they're fighting for what they get in return. If you're going to do that, and then you're going to tell ESPN to stop looking at other, getting another conference involved in rating or dissecting or tearing apart your own conference, you got to kind of be careful yourself. You're not doing that.
Yeah.
If to somebody else who has grant of rights, right? That's just a thought. Thanks for the calls. And a couple more states checked off the list. If you're on hold, and a lot of you are, we have some guests lined up throughout the day, including our next guest on Alabama, and the SEC. Cecil Hurts covered it for 40 years. Also, a couple of Cowboys analysts and writers at 4:30 and 5. Craig's off the radar at 4:45. He'll be here sometime soon. And then also today, sports attorney Dan Lust on trying to break down some of these words, lingo, and legalese for me, you, and for all of us. This tortious interference. Armstrong Sims is in the studio today. Emma is in the studio today. Hayden is in the studio today. And Marquise is in the studio today as well. Is that right? We got everybody?
Roll call, yes.
Roll call. And Jack might be back with us sometime next week. More texts coming in. We appreciate that. Brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. This is SicEm365 Radio. Marco's Pizza specializes in Italian-American cuisine. First store was opened back in Oregon, Ohio, on Star Avenue, founded by Italian immigrant Pasquale in 1978. Credits its franchises as well as its dough, 3-cheese blend, and also pizza sauce for the strong growth. Now over 1,000 stores, but 3 of them in particular right here in Waco, Texas, in Belmead, Woodway, and also on China Spring Road. Since our audience has gone national, and we appreciate you for the growth and all of what you do with us as well. You have a Marco's Pizza nearby, make sure you do something and call them up and have a pizza delivered or go by and pick one up. Italian quality pizza, fresh made dough, original sauce recipe from day one, authentic Italian pizza, most loved pizza bread, and oh, by the way, yeah, you can go online as well, marcos.com. It includes pizzas, subs, wings, salads, cheesy breads, Cinesquares, pizza bowls, and co-branded Ghirardelli brownies. How about that? It is Marco's Pizza. It's the pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza at marcos.com.
Make the summer sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Now arriving and in stock, this beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, Laredo or Limited. You pick. Have total values of $2,750 or 0% for 48 months, plus $1,000 in bonus cash. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, just I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, we're now joined by Cecil Hurd. He's been covering Alabama, Tuscaloosa News since 1981, so also this thing called the SEC. He's been all a part of it, has covered it at every level. He joins us now. Appreciate him. He's also got Alabama taste in the NBA draft like Baylor does with Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, and company. Cecil, so the SEC, I believe, was it today or is it tonight when they're supposed to vote? Is that still on?
As far as I know, the presidents are going to have a meeting. Whether there'll be a vote at that meeting, most people think that there will. And that's still on as far as I know.
So obviously this is going to happen. Nobody's going to stand in the way of it because of the gigantic financial and all the implications. But school to school, how do the schools feel about these programs individually coming in? Are they happy about it, or are there mixed feelings throughout the conference?
Well, I think, first of all, from Alabama's standpoint, I don't know that happy is exactly the right word, but they're certainly, they have future games scheduled already with Texas and Oklahoma, and they certainly recognize that it would enhance the value. And I can't imagine that the SEC would have proceeded without Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, at least given tacit consent. Now, where Texas A&M stands, that might be a little bit different. Where Vanderbilt stands, two more really good teams that they're going to try and get above in football, at least, in basketball. At the same time, a lot more money for everybody in the next media rights negotiation, and that's what every member institution is counting on. The only one I think A&M, they have a long history with Texas up to Oklahoma, and maybe Arkansas a little bit. They're older people at Arkansas that were glad to get out of the Southwest Conference. Obviously, first of all, financially, but second, to get away from Texas. So, there may be some of that, but money talks, and that's the kind of salve that you can rub on a sore butt, and it makes it feel a lot better.
Yeah, Benjamin's, right? Put Benjamin's, get a little Vaseline, and just kind of rub out any kind of chafing or whatever it might be.
Green salve. That's what you got to recommend.
Yeah. Cecil, does Alabama give a damn who joins the conference as long as they're still Alabama?
Well, again, there would be a limit. I mean, they want to keep the value high. Like any league member, they don't want to bring somebody in to get a slice of the pie that they don't feel like contributes. Now, Texas and Oklahoma obviously contribute. There would be some other schools. I don't think that Alabama would be in favor necessarily of unless the forensic accountants showed them, what the payouts would be. I don't think they'd want to take the whole ACC or anything like that. They'd pick and choose. They'd take Clemson. They'd take North Carolina. Might take Florida State if Florida was on board with that. Somebody that would enhance the value. And I don't think this would happen, but Ohio State obviously would be one. But they just don't want to start adding teams just to add teams, and have to cut the media rights pie into more slices.
Is there a belief among at least Alabama people that Texas is going to come in and be a nice, quiet, amenable member of the SEC as opposed to what they were in the Southwest Conference in the Big 12?
No, they've dealt with Texas. They know what to expect. Greg Byrne, the athletic director at Alabama, his father, Bill, was a longtime athletic director at Texas A&M. So I imagine that Greg's heard a story or two. But what they do expect is that this is a much stronger league. This is not a situation where Texas is carrying the league, and they'll expect Texas to understand that when they arrive. That you don't just come in, and it's not just Alabama, although Alabama is certainly one of the prominent members and has been since the league was formed. But it's also Georgia and Florida and Kentucky and some of the others, depending on their situation at present. And so I don't know that they don't expect Texas to be Texas and have that Texas swagger, but they certainly don't anticipate that Texas is going to come to the next SEC meetings and try and dominate the room, because they won't. It's just a different league and a stronger league than Texas has been in before.
It's amazing how you've been covering Alabama now, and football and basketball, since 1982. Has the last year had more big stories than you've ever had to cover that you can remember?
Yeah, in a way. Obviously, the COVID situation was different. I mean, it's when you've done it that long, and this is I'll make this a short explanation, but it's all one continuum. It goes from shortly after I started, a year after I started, Coach Bryant dying, those transitions through winning a national championship in 1992, through the probation years, through hiring Nick Saban, through rebuilding a dynasty that nobody predicted could ever happen, to have a coach that's really, in many ways, surpassed what Coach Bryant did, to have had the two. I think you make a strong argument, and I'm not going to, square off with Newt Rockney's family, but the two greatest coaches, certainly in modern college football. So it's been a continuum. But yes, last year, I mean, just like everybody, just like you in your job, just like the guy that's waiting tables, just like the woman that's a school teacher. COVID affected everything. So yes, it happened. It also did happen to come in a year when, of all the great Alabama teams, that might have been the best one. Certainly offensively was the best one. They have been the best offensive team in college football ever.
Cecil Hurt with us from the Tuscaloosa News on SicEm365 Radio.
I've been asking a lot of our guests this, Cecil. How many people do you think knew about this before the news? Like, how did Texas and Oklahoma really get this done in the dark?
I think that Greg Sankey has been good at keeping things close to the vest. I would say that with the possible exception of Texas A&M, I would say that the other presidents who are essentially who Greg Sankey works for, they had to be in the loop. There were a couple of people at ESPN who had to be in the loop because they had to have numbers on what those additions would be worth. Beyond that, there wasn't too much. There wasn't much among the media. Nobody until Brett Zwerneman broke the story on Wednesday at SEC Media Days. There was no Wednesday morning. There was no conversation about it among any media members, either in Hoover or that I saw online.
Cecil, have there truly been any kind of discussions, and I know they still have to vote to make it official, whatever. You see a lot of these, I guess, divisions and pods or whatever. Have you heard anything about what they're going to do or how they'll do it?
No, I haven't. I'm sure that they're looking at that, but it's kind of one step at a time. People, there are complexities to building a football schedule, but last season when COVID forced them to change it, it took a couple of months to get it all worked out, and the same thing can happen. I think with this, there might be some contract buyouts involved. If the next question before all that happens, that has to be approved is, are you staying at 8 games, which I don't see how that would be viable, or are you going to a 9-game conference schedule?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what do you think would be the best fit? Would it be 9 plus the 3 non-conference games?
I like 10 last year.
Yeah,
I like 10 and maybe 2 non-conference games. You didn't even have those last year, but I think 9 would be a easier sell to the presidents. Nick Saban's pushed for 9 for the last 10 years. I've been an advocate of 9. The Big Ten plays 9. The Pac-12 plays 9. I don't see a problem. And people say, oh, well, some years you'd only have 4 home and 5 road, and that's true. But it just balances out. It's just going to have to say, well, this was our lucky year to have 5 home games, or we'll just go on the road and beat all 5 of them. You can do it that way too. What is
your opinion? Oklahoma has been good for a long, long time. They had their stretch in the 90s, but they've now been good for 20 years. They've been close, but have not been able to get to that next level, whether it's Alabama, LSU, Georgia, whoever who's beaten them. Texas, of course, played Alabama in 2009 in that game when Colt McCoy went out. What are your thoughts, just as a sports fan, a college football fan, on how they fit in to the week in and week out grind of the SEC?
Oklahoma will be good. I mean, they'll be good. You're correct. They've played better teams in the playoff. I don't know that having played a year of Big 12 competition prepares them. That it's a league that approaches defense a little bit differently. But they'll be good. And, they've been there every year, and that's how you have to do it. You get there, you get in the 4, and you have a chance every year. Sometimes it works out for Alabama last year, worked out for LSU the year before that, worked out for Clemson the year before that. But you got to be kind of knocking on the door every year, and Oklahoma is. Now, if they go to a 12, that's going to be something else. Once the dust settles a little bit, and if they go to a 12, I would think Oklahoma would have a good chance to be in the 12 every year. I would just have to see how that's structured. We're getting into such long-term scenarios, and hypotheticals. But what's going to stop the SEC from having 6 teams in the playoff if you go to 12?
Yep.
And I would think Oklahoma would be one of those teams, and Texas should be. They just hadn't made good decisions since Mac Brown left.
Cecil, good luck with is it Josh Primo tonight? Should be drafted in the first round from Alabama.
It could be 18 years old.
So. Imagine that, a freshman, true freshman coming in. Hey, thanks for your time, Cecil. Love your work. Cecil Hurt, and a lot of the Bama fans on our YouTube channel Roll Tide saying that when they heard we had Cecil on the show to get his perspective from Tuscaloosa. When we come back, 349-254-339-1122, we're going to hear sports attorney Dan Lust at 4. Craig, now with us, has joined us. He'll have Off the Radar in about an hour, and this is SicEm365 Radio. If you like to smoke cigars, and the best cigars you can find in Central Texas are at Don's Humidor Coffee Beans in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Macanudo, Romeo and Julieta, Padron, H. Upman, Rocky Patel, Artur Fuente, and then, of course, there's much more, including Cohiba. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor with all the great brands of cigars, the elite-level cigars from around the world. And, of course, they can also give you fresh ground coffee beans right there in front of you. Their favorite is the coffee. The favorite, I guess, right now is Cowboy. Plus CBD products. Vitadreams, a gummy that you can get a little bit of it or maybe take an entire gummy, and allows you to fall asleep so much quicker. And on top of that means you save tossing and turning for 15, 20, 30, 50 minutes every night. It's Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne Smokey sent you in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed. Smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Rediscover the thrill of driving with power and exceptional handling and control in a new 2021 Cadillac from Richard Car Cadillac. Whether you drive the dynamic 2021 CT4 or CT5 sedan or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs, starting at only $32,900, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now to make your 2021 an exceptional year at an affordable price. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Car Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Man, a lot of you, especially those of you that are SEC fans who are watching and listening to us on Cecil Hurt, man, he does bring the knowledge, and some of you, golly, it's just, oh my gosh. 254-339-1122. I need to clarify something, get to some calls. Craig Smoak to my right. This is Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak, SicEm365 Radio. 365 is the channel on YouTube. And some of you have brought this up. Is this a Baylor channel, a Big 12 channel? What do you do? SicEm365 Radio. We then started launching the YouTube recently, the channel, and this college football discussion has exploded with us. And we have all gotten to know each other. We are going to cover what we cover, and college football is a massive part and thorough part of what we will bring your way. And I just saw where a Syracuse Orange fan asked, and so good to have you on the show as well.
Your answer to that question is yes.
254-339-1122. A sports attorney and Dan Luss will join us to kind of explain any of this, all the legal stuff going on right now at 4 o'clock.
Esteban in Arizona, thanks for your call. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm just like everybody else. I found your radio station this week after all the news exploded with Texas and Oklahoma moving. But I'm calling to ask about the Pac-12. You know, I'm a huge University of Arizona fan. I want the Pac-12 to be as successful as they could possibly be. After kind of reading everything that's kind of gone on, I was looking at like what their options would be to really kind of put them in the best spot. You know, I really wanted Oklahoma State to be added as a school, but I kind of, after looking at everything, I really don't feel like adding any of the current Big 12 schools, you know, would be like a good fit for the Pac-12. But I've been reading a lot about how there's like, you know, potential mergers or like alliances with the Big Ten. Instead of a merger, I really like the idea of seeing them align with the Big Ten in terms of scheduling and getting something like that set up, and then partnering with. Doesn't sound like Fox is in a good position, because it really sounds like, you know, these networks are really kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes. But you know, maybe aligning with the Big Ten in terms of scheduling, and then heading on over to CBS and just trying to increase their revenue without really adding any schools. I really want to know what your guys' opinion is of what you think the Pac-12 could do to like put itself in the best position.
They got to find out who they are. They have to find out what their mission statement is. The new commissioner has to figure out what people want, because that's why they have been kind of fragile. The TV contract's been okay. They've kind of just been forgotten about at times.
I also think the biggest thing the Pac-12 needs to do is stop looking down their nose at schools they don't feel worthy. Because the SEC probably does that to some regard, but like they've not done that, and they're too was Arkansas worthy? Arkansas was worthy of the SEC in 1992. You know, A&M and Missouri were worthy 10, 11 years ago, and Oklahoma and Texas are worthy now. They didn't get in the weeds over, you know, philosophies or all these different things. And I think that's a big thing, is that the Pac-12 schools need to have leadership that says, like, guys, we're all going to be different. We're all going to have different mission statements as schools. People go to colleges for different reasons. People move to states for different reasons. Let's not stand on our high horse about what we espouse as our values, knowing that through 12 schools, they're probably different, even with the ones that have similar things. So, do what's best for the league and what's for the best for your athletics going forward, not what, you might think is right in some kind of, hill you want to stand on.
Yeah, I think the Pac-12 is a little snooty, to be honest with you. I was looking at a reporter, Jeff Schwartz, who played in the Pac-12. I think he does some radio stuff on Sirius, and he said earlier today, I just spent 10 hours at Pac-12 Media Day. Not a single person in that conference wants a Big 12 team in the league. So while merging with the Pac-12 might be best, it doesn't work if the conference doesn't want any of the remaining teams. Everyone discussed finding ways to merge or partner with the Big Ten. So, I'm not a buyer in the Big 12 schools going over to the Pac-12. I know that Texas Tech fans have been big on that, or at least some of them have been. But I think this Big Ten and Pac-12 thing is going to be the next thing to watch, the next shoe to potentially drop. I don't know how much gas there really is to this fire, but there has been some smoke this week on them doing the cross-scheduling thing, as you mentioned, or doing an all-out alliance. I saw the theory that, maybe the Big Ten is wanting to pluck like the top 6 schools. So they'd go grab Oregon, USC, UCLA, and whoever the other 2 or 3 would be. And making the Super Big Ten Conference. But it is kind of interesting when you hear the rumors, like the ACC is under contract, but they still have some problems that they need to deal with, including the fact that I think every conference in America now is very aware of what the SEC did to the Big 12. And so if you're the ACC and you're looking at your contracts and kind of what that looks like, and you see those rumors about Clemson or Florida State or someone like that jumping, everybody's on high alert now, you know what I mean? So I think everybody is being proactive, and that's why I think there is something to this Big Ten Pac-12 thing. But it is interesting to me that, let's say there was some legs to the SEC wanting to go even further, and it looks like the ACC would be that direction. Is it impossible in your guys' minds to think of the possibility of these 5 Power 5 conferences suddenly becoming one giant Northwest Conference and one giant Southeast Conference? Because if you plug the Pac-10 and the Big 12 together, Pac-12, what I keep saying Pac-10, Pac-12 and Big 10 together, there's the entire, it's almost like drawing a line diagonally across the country. And I kind of wonder if that's maybe the direction we're going a little bit. But I think the Pac-12 is in a good position right now. Maybe not, they are a little too selective perhaps, but I don't know. Maybe the right move isn't adding these Big 12 teams, especially if you don't think they're going to bring a lot of value, and especially if, you're kind of morally feeling like you're a little bit above them, which seems to be the case right now.
All right, we got to take a break, Paul.
Yeah.
We got one more.
That's one more call because we won't be able to do it for an hour.
All right, okay.
All right, Jake from Oklahoma, thanks for your call. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hi, I was going to ask you guys, do you think that if the Big 12 disbands, do you think these conferences, I should say, would go to 4 power conferences, or do you think if the Big 12 stays, they'll be able to maintain their Power 5 with this new 12-team playoff, or do you just think they'll fall off and be forgotten?
Great question, both ways. The 4 power conferences is kind of what a lot of people have thought since, 5 or 6, 8, 10 years ago, Paul, you started talking about that. And if they stay together and they're a part of the college football play, I think if they somehow find a way to stay together, I feel like if they can stay together, weather the storm, get some of this money that they're owed from Texas and Oklahoma, and who knows what happens with ESPN, that I feel like, just have a feeling that they'll find a way. I really do. I'm not saying anyone, no one's given me that inclination. That's just me, to survive and find a way. And if they do, I do believe that they will be a part of the National College Football Playoff.
Yeah, I think it's impossible right now to say that anything is a certainty, other than we know Texas and OU are now SEC teams, at least in theory in the future. But other than that, we really don't know. It's kind of crazy, all the moving parts, and I'm ready to see what the next shoe is to drop, because we might think we know what the path forward looks like, but if all of a sudden you hear the Pac-12 is pursuing, something with the Big Ten, or another team decides to jump ship, then that throws everything up in the air once again and completely rearranges the pieces of the puzzle. So I think there's a lot of different pieces out there right now. You can start to kind of put together one corner, and then the next thing you know, like, the pieces change, and it's like, okay, now you got to rearrange. So I think there's still a lot of arranging going on, but the big shoes dropped with OU and Texas. So now what is the response to that from the ACC, from the Big Ten, from the Pac-12? Do they stay pat? If they stay pat, that bodes well, I think, for the Big 12. And even if they don't, that could bode well, because depending on who you might take, who would be left over, that potentially the Big 12 could take a look at, like the Arizona schools, for example. But that's if there's a lot more rearranging.
Here's another Pac-12 360 text. I'm a lifelong Huskies fan, Pac-12 fan. Thought it was crazy to think the Big Ten could raid our schools, but just read that could be an extra $30 million each.
There you go.
Could be doubled for UW, Oregon, Southern Cal, UCLA, Stanford, Cal. The Big Ten, if they add you, that means they know that they're going to make a hell of a lot more money, and they're already making $50 million plus per school. So that's the way they would do it if they know. And if they know and they bring you on, you're going to get that piece as well.
But, hey, if that were to happen and all of a sudden Big 12's got Utah, Arizona State, potentially go grab BYU, even though they're not in the Pac-12.
Would that float your boat?
I think it would. Hell yeah.
I think it would, too.
I mean, that would be legit. Go grab Arizona State, Utah. I mean, whoever's left over there. Colorado. I mean, come on. Bring them. Texas isn't around anymore. Colorado should be okay. Yeah, that would work.
All right, when we come back, the legalese, trying to put it in layman's term, and some of you know what the legalese might be. You'll enjoy Dan Lust. He's a sports law attorney, and he's next on SicEm365 Radio.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Three Nations Brewing Company is a recognized award-winning brewery that has been recognized for being a community leader, a successful business, and most of all for brewing great beer. Three Nations offers the community something fun all throughout the week. Wednesday night bingo, Thursday trivia, New Beer Friday promotes fresh beer from their small batch system and live music every Saturday night. There are regular celebrations such as St. Patrick's Day, Switchyard, Cinco de Mayo, July 4th, new beer launches, dog rescues, annual anniversary events, and Oktoberfest parties. Three Nations is a dog-friendly and family-friendly brewery. Don't miss out on the fun. So come visit Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
That one picked off, and it's a pick 6 by Jalen Petrie.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. We'll have a couple of segments today on the Dallas Cowboys as they go through training camp. I saw where Dak Prescott is not going to throw. And they said for 2 or 3 days, well, they're about to leave. They got a Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, and Jimmy Johnson, Drew Pearson, Cliff Harris will be a part of the induction over a couple of nights. So if he doesn't throw for 2 or 3 days, they leave for Canton, then they come back. So he's not going to throw for about a week. It's not a tear in his throwing shoulder or arm. It's just something that's more precautionary, but there was video of him working out. We'll get to the Cowboys at 4:30 and also 5 o'clock here in just a moment. But we know Dan Lust. He's been great for us, sports attorney on ESPN, CBS, and Fox Sports. Con-Detrimentalist podcast and professor, New York Law School, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Dan, what the hell's going on? I mean, this is... people are pointing fingers. This is what you specialize in. Does Bob Bowlesby and do the teams in the Big 12 have a leg to stand on with their accusations against ESPN?
Well, it remains to be seen, right? It's a very, very heavy accusation. And, guys, always a pleasure joining you. And I always, expected to call with this Big 12 stuff, but I did not expect a cease and desist letter to go to ESPN. So put it this way, right? People are asking what a cease and desist is. A cease and desist by itself is basically just saying, like, it's stop or else, right? The cease and desist by itself doesn't really mean anything. It just says, hey, if you do this thing that we're telling you not to do, then we are going to sue you. So in the legal profession, we kind of say, like, the cease and desist is not worth the paper that it's on. It doesn't really mean anything. But, right, if you do the thing that they're accusing you of doing, then there could be legal ramifications. So does Bob Bowlesby have anything, right? Is it just, just swinging accusations wildly? I mean, I find it odd that he would be going after ESPN, period. You would think that the Big 12 would want to be partners with the ESPN. And I don't know if you're going to go after ESPN. ESPN probably did something, right, at least according to Bob Bowlesby, worthy of kind of torching that bridge. So if I'm a betting man, right, I think Bowlesby's not risking his reputation on nothing. He's the one that kind of started it, at least in the public perception.
Dan, so tortious interference. Tortious, not a word we use in the modern parlance outside of the legal profession. So what would you have to prove that something is in fact tortious?
I actually don't think people say modern parlance either. I think that's a U word. That is not a real word either. So tortious interference, the minute I saw, the comments from Bowlesby, it sounded like he was going after tortious interference, and then he ended up saying it. So here's the easy breakdown. Cease and desist is pretty easy. It means stop or else. Tortious interference is basically saying if two people have a valid contract, right? We'll say Baylor and the Big 12. They have a valid contract. If some stranger comes in, be it ESPN or any random person on the street, and they help Baylor break that contract with the Big 12, not only can the Big 12 sue Baylor, they can also sue this person, a third party, that decided to interfere with a valid contractual relationship between two people. So the person that's helping the person break the contract is also not innocent in this whole process. here's if, the lawyers, anyone that's following this, here's the interesting thing. You know who people expected to get a cease and desist? Greg Sankey over at the SEC. That one made sense, right? Just like we watch in pro basketball, right? People kind of say wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, there's no tampering, but how did everyone's salaries line up perfectly on this one team? It doesn't really make sense unless there was some communication. The Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, it makes some sense that they had communications with Greg Sankey, right, or back and forth, but no one wants to fess up to it. Now, the cease and desist doesn't go to Sankey. It goes kind of off the grid and goes to ESPN. So this tortious interference is this really important element here, right? I think Bowlesby is worried about other people, right? Not necessarily conferences, but these middlemen, right? These brokers, these facilitators coming in and letting, Greg Sankey walk with clean hands. Hey, I didn't do anything. Maybe a middleman did something. So I think it's a very loud message that Bowlesby's sending. And hats off to him. I think he's fighting for the conference. I think he's doing everything he needs to do at this point.
So when it would come to, if it ever got far enough to present his evidence, whatever that may be, he says he has, without a doubt type of evidence. Does that typically entail, I wouldn't think just word of mouth would be concrete, right? Just having somebody who says, yeah, I know about this. I mean, do you need documents? What kind of evidence would you need to prove something like that?
You could use word of mouth. You could have a witness, right? You could have an email. You could have a recorded conversation. But the context that he's saying it, right? I have concrete evidence. When we say concrete and legal perfection, it's usually something tangible that you can hold. Maybe it's an email, you can't really hold it, but something physical. I think that's what it is. But just think about, is that possible? I mean, at the end of the day, Bowlesby, right? The schools are supposed to have the Big 12 schools are their allegiances to Bowlesby. Is it that crazy that ESPN or the AAC, who's allegedly kind of trying to swoop in and take some schools, right? Is it possible that someone sent an email or a text message and then they brought that to Bowlesby? Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to have their allegiance to Bowlesby, so it wouldn't be that far-fetched that he would get something like that. And modern communication, right? This isn't like, people just talking on the phone. There's text, there's emails, there's DMs. So it wouldn't be that crazy if that's what occurred here. But, to the larger question, will we ever know what this concrete evidence is? I think Bowlesby's daring ESPN or anybody else to find out. Cease and desist is not necessarily required. You could start a lawsuit against anyone. You don't need a precursor of a cease and desist. So my reading of it as a lawyer, this is a very big warning shot. Do not go after Big 12 schools or else, right? Bowlesby is gonna lay the hammer down.
Dan, I'm not very good at poker, and so I don't have much of a poker face, I don't think, and I'm surely not very good when it comes to legal. But if Bob Bowlesby has something, and this might be just stupid, but why wouldn't he just plaster that out somewhere right now? Or is that because you want to make sure you have something? They may know you have something, and you're going to get something better in the end.
Yes and no. I mean, honestly, let's just take it at a high level, right? The Big 12 is going after ESPN, and I think they may, again, at least by allegations, it could have caught ESPN with their hand in the cookie jar. And if ESPN's accessing to making some type of mistake here, you don't air someone's dirty laundry. That would really torch the relationship between the Big 12 conference and ESPN. And there aren't that many ESPNs out there, right? You kind of can't really bite the hand that potentially could feed you one day with a lot of money. So I think this is maybe, hey, listen, you guys shouldn't have done this, but we're not going to air your dirty laundry. Just don't do it again. That's cease and desist is just kind of a scary letter. Again, there's no teeth to it. You haven't said anything. You haven't put it out there. But I think that's really what it is. I think it's a warning shot. But I guess from a practical level, guys, you guys over in Big 12 country right now, right? Texas, Oklahoma leave if and when that does occur, right? The Big 12 is down to 8. So if you lose any other schools after that, that's very problematic to your Power 5 status. Mm-hmm. And, if recruiting schools wasn't hard enough, right, retaining schools is just as hard for at least Bowlesby, at least in his perception. So if you lose 3 more to the AAC, you're going to have to find 6 or 7 quality schools. That's a much, much taller test to save the conference. So I think if you can hold tight and retain the conference as the Big 12 or as the Big 8, whatever it is right now, finding 2 schools is doable. Finding 5 schools is a much taller test. So that's why I think Bowlesby kind of said to himself, listen, if I lose 3 schools here, I might be out of a job, right? There's no Big 12 commissioner. If there's no Big 12 conference, I have to go scorched earth here. I mean, or else what are we doing here? So I think it was the right move. I think it was a strong statement. And he's basically saying, don't go after any Big 12 schools.
So does this mean now that the Big 12 can't go after anybody if they decide to expand, or do they just have to wait that out?
Well, that's my favorite part of this, right? Bowlesby saying, don't touch our schools. And then we're all sitting here on the sidelines like, hey, doesn't the SEC have 16 schools and you guys have 8? So aren't you going to need to steal someone else's schools? Yeah, it's setting him to be a little bit hypocritical, but, Bowlesby's sending a message. He needs to recruit schools. So is he going to wait for people's rights to expire? Sure, but, he's got to recruit some firepower, and he's got to do it fairly quickly. So, would it be shocking if he helped and tried to go after school that was under contract, and dealt with the ramifications later? It's possible, but it would seem hypocritical. But, as you guys saw, I pointed out on Twitter, I think that's what it's setting up. He can't lose the schools like Oklahoma and Texas and not replace them with firepower. So sometimes you can't kind of wait around and wait for right contracts to expire, right? Sometimes you need to take the destiny into your own hands.
Dan, what did you think of the response from ESPN's Burke Magnus to the Big 12 and Bob Bowlesby?
Was that the one that said there is no merit to these allegations? Yeah, that was great. I saw about 12 tweets from Bowlesby taking his gloves off and punching ESPN with these haymakers, and then I saw 2 words from ESPN, and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty good. Just short, to the point, no merit. So they're painting Bowlesby as kind of this guy off the rails. He's he's throwing haymakers left and right. He's got nothing to lose, and then ESPN just hits him with no merit.
So let's go over the grant of rights and penalties. In each conference, I'm sure, has different bylaws or whatever. Right now, the Big 12 TV network contract runs through 24-25. So there's 4 seasons left. And then on top of that, in the bylaws of the Big 12, there are penalties if, in fact, you leave early, not just you paying whatever years remain grant of rights. Dan, that's hundreds of $200, $300, $400 million if you look at the grant of rights over 4 years at $35 million. That's $250 million. We've received 180. They're not going to pay that, are they? What do you think is going to happen in the end? They pay part of it, or if the 8 stay strong, does Oklahoma and Texas just have to bite the bullet and stay another year or 2?
It's tough. I mean, I've seen maybe some grumblings that maybe the new conference, if the SEC helps split the bill. But with lawyers, right? You have involved lawyers. You never. I'll put it this way, right? Let's say someone sues for $1 million. They're not going to get $1 million unless you take the case all the way to trial, all the way to its logical conclusion. There's usually a settlement to be had there for like 80 cents on the dollar, 75 cents on the dollar. So, I imagine there's some type of settlement they could work it out. But I think what Texas and Oklahoma tried to do, and this is just my opinion, my kind of high level viewing of this, right? They say, hey, wink, wink, we're not going to leave until 2025, wink, wink, but if anybody else wants to do anything in the meanwhile, you guys are free to do what you want. So as people have pointed out, right, if the Big 12 conference doesn't exist, who is Texas paying this money to? Who is Oklahoma paying the money to? So, I mean, I can't imagine these schools have that amount of money just lying around liquid. Maybe they could build it up over a couple of years, but they're not going to have that lying around. So unless the SEC helps them fit the bill, I find it hard pressed to see them do it. But, again, if you want to believe these reports from, the ESPN, the AAC report, if 3 other schools were thinking of making the jump, I mean, then all of a sudden the Big 12 is down to 5. And then, those 5 schools are probably looking for another place soon. And guys, again, SEC has 16 schools. Big 10 has 14 at this point, and they're trying to keep pace with the SEC. Maybe they want to pick off another 2 schools, depending on where they get it from. And maybe they go after a school like Cincinnati, who is not in a Power 5 conference, or maybe they go after, the Big 12. So I don't think we can say for certain what's going to happen in the Big 12. Either they retool or, the schools kind of cut bait. But I think it's really up in the air right now. That's why, as a fan of Big 12 sports, I like Bowlesby coming down and saying, I'm fighting for my conference. I'm coming out swinging. I think that was the only move he had, and I think he did it effectively.
So, Dan, what is the next step now? So Bob has said what he did and made the allegation against ESPN. ESPN has now responded and said, nuh-uh. So where do we go from here next?
I think it's a little bit of a stalemate, right? Like, if Bowlesby can hold down the court and keep the schools in place, then it's a matter of recruiting to try to replace the firepower. But yeah, I mean, listen, in terms of a lawsuit, no lawsuit's going to happen unless Bowlesby thinks that ESPN actually did it. But if you actually go out and sue ESPN, it's very different than sending a cease and desist letter. Cease and desist is not a precursor to a lawsuit. They don't have to sue ESPN. They might, but I think that is torching a bridge, which we've never seen done, right? A conference suing a television network when the conference is in the business of doing deals with television networks, I think that would be insane. So I do think this was a message that was sent, and Bowlesby has his eye on just retaining his schools, and that's the way he saves the conference. Retain the schools, and then see who you can pull otherwise. But yeah, it's really a matter of quantity at this point. I think you just need to get the numbers up. You can't be a conference with 8 teams and looking at a 14-team Big Ten and a 16-team SEC. That's going to be very problematic to, again, staying within that Power 5.
There are so many more things legally in sports, and we're not going to have time to get to them. So, Dan, I'm going to try to be back in touch with you again to get you on with so much more that's going on. Thank you as always for trying to help us clarify and understand, and we can't wait to get you again.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime.
That's Dan Lust at Sports Law Lust on Twitter, on various networks, sports attorney, analyst.
He's
and
really
also
good.
His podcast at Con Detrimental is very, very good.
You know what he and in the podcast that he does is really good is there's all these sports legal issues, and a lot of times you'll hear an expert on the air and they just talk straight in legalese. Dan, I mean, if you don't understand after listening to Dan, I mean, I don't know how much easier you can make it. That's why it's so great.
I feel like I kind of had a grasp of what was going on, but yeah, he just explained it really simply, and now I definitely have a much better grasp of what's going on as far as like the moving pieces and whatnot. And interesting to get his perspective on Bowlesby's move yesterday, and obviously the ESPN response today. So I guess we now just wait and see what the Big 12 decides to do next, or if ESPN decides to do something next, or what. But yeah, now a stalemate is what it has become. So who makes the next move? Be very intrigued by what happens next.
All right, 424. We have another segment then, Mickey. We have Mickey coming
next.
up next. Craig's Off the Radar, which are stories that are outside of the main topic right now, which is college football. And we'll have that plus much more. Man, we appreciate you, the text messages. I'm trying to respond to some of them, read some of them. Take your call with Paul, Craig, David Smoak. This is SicEm365 Radio. Impact Research Institute had a grand opening and ribbon cutting yesterday in the Fish Pond Medical Plaza, just off Fish Pond Road in Waco. What they're trying to do is this, helping find class research and screenings and if in fact you might have fatty liver disease. You may say, wait a minute, I'm fine. I'm in great shape. That doesn't mean that you don't have it. I went and got screened from Ideal MRI. They're a partner with Impact Research Institute, and everything was fine. I didn't expect it. But there is non-alcoholic issues that can come with fatty liver disease, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and sometimes you have it and you don't know. And Dr. Gunn at Impact Research Institute in Waco is trying to help people understand a little bit more about what can be a problem. They, again, are experts in the field, 20-plus years of research. And here's what also can happen as well. Impact Research Institute will get you liver health screenings performed quickly at no cost. And the possibility that if you have some sort of an issue, they can also get a grant and also have you as a part of a research project where you can be compensated if you qualify as they try to study fatty liver disease. Here's the bottom line. They had the grand opening yesterday. You can go to their website, get on Facebook, go to their plaza, the medical plaza on Fish Pond Road, Impact Research Institute, trying to help solve, cure, maybe that's the wrong word, but find out more about fatty liver disease in you.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
All right, before we get to Mickey, there is news on this Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. Ross Dellinger reporting the SEC presidents, as expected, voted to extend the membership invitation to both. And now their Board of Regents, Texas and Oklahoma, meet tomorrow, accept the invitation, the final step in securing that powerful conference extension, richest, all the contract, whatever else. So that now, for now, would mean they would start to play in 2025. Of course, that remains to be seen in all the legal wrangling of grant of rights and penalties. So that's from Ross Dellinger. He's going to join us tomorrow, by the way. Ross Dellinger from SI.com on SicEm365 Radio. And joined by Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. So Mickey, Dak is not throwing. I saw some video. He's doing everything else. What is it, just precautionary, or is there something more of a concern?
Well, I think anytime you're talking about a muscle around the shoulder area, your upper arm, it's somewhat of a concern. But, you know, he was out there today handing off, you know, in some of the running drills, and he was helping out with the quarterbacks in their kind of warm-up period where the quarterbacks run the routes for the other quarterback, and he was running routes, and somebody remarked, gosh, he throws the ball better left-handed than DiNucci throws it right-handed. So, ha, 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 right? But, no, yeah, he's mobile. He was rehabbing, you know, doing conditioning work. They're just going to shut him down from throwing the ball, I think, for a few days. Mike McCarthy said a few days. Somebody asked him what a few days is, and he goes, I don't know. I got a definition for a few. I guess 2 or 3 for sure.
Well, they're about to go to Canton, Mickey, and there was no way in this earth or any in the multiverse that he was going to play in the Hall of Fame game anyway, right?
No, he wasn't going to play. Absolutely not. And, you know, and who knows how much he would have played in the next preseason game. But for sure not in that game. So, you know,
if they want, you could shut them down, through the scrimmage with the Rams, which is next Saturday. Well, if you wanted to, you could shut them down through the Arizona preseason game, and you'd still have a few weeks to go, because right now they're 5 weeks away from the first full week of preparation for the season opener.
All right.
So yeah, there's time, as long as that's all it is a strain, sore. He said it was tight. So I don't know that the MRI showed a tear or anything like that.
All right, so tell us about adding Malik Hooker. I know he's had injury issues over his career, really good, kind of a high-level player, but just isn't on the field very much.
Yeah, now, he's coming off a ruptured Achilles, and that certainly takes time. That's why when they worked him out, I think it was the end of March, maybe sometime in April, he wasn't ready. Then there was no way when rupture Achilles like September 20th, by April, you'd be ready to do any kind of football work. So he came back, he passed his physical, he passed the workout. He hadn't done anything yet but watch and do some conditioning work. So we'll see what he can do. It adds to the competition at the safety position. All these guys that they've signed, the veterans, including him, at safety, they all signed 1-year deals. So that means that the contract it doesn't make it prohibitive from getting rid of you if you don't play well, as we saw last year by Clinton Dix. Although they made the mistake on that one of signing to a multi-year deal, and they took the hit against the salary cap. So more competition. You got him. You got Jaron Kearse. You got DeMonte KZ, and and however they're going to use Keanu Neal, that's 4 veteran free safeties. And like you said, yeah, Hooker was really good coming out of college, but I think he suffered an ACL and then the ruptured Achilles. So yeah, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But as I was told, it wasn't like they were concerned about the other safeties they signed. It was just an opportunity to sign another talented player and just kind of have competition and see how it turns out.
Mickey, one thing I will say after what I read that he, after his time with the media yesterday, he is certainly confident.
Yeah, I'm a game changer, right? I make plays. All right, well, let's see it, because they can certainly use plays. But, I think he's only been able, 2017, he was the 15th pick in the draft. I don't think he's even played 40 games yet. So, yeah, he's got to stay healthy. Now, he's got 7 picks. That's not the biggest game changer I've seen over that period of time. But, we'll see. We'll see what he's able to do.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com with us on SicEm365 Radio. Mickey, you're out there in Oxnard. As you said, they've got this game in Canton. To kind of leave it with this, what is the schedule now? When do they leave? When do they come back, and everything else in between?
So tomorrow's the official day off. You got a CBA, and they've got to have a day off every few days. So tomorrow's a day off, and then they'll practice Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think Tuesday's a day off. Maybe I don't have it memorized. They leave Wednesday for Cleveland, but I think they're going to practice first before they leave, play the game Thursday, and immediately fly back after the game. So probably show up here about, 3 in the morning, some beautiful time like that. And especially since they got to fly in and out of LAX, so it's another hour drive after you land to get here, since we got shut out of the Naval Air Station that's right down the road, like 20 minutes away. So yeah, that's kind of the schedule. And then they're off on that Friday after they get back, and then they practice against the Rams a week from this Saturday.
Mickey, how do you like Mike McCarthy's schedule compared to Jason Garrett's?
It shortens the day for us because the main practice is at 11 o'clock in the morning. And he doesn't allow us to watch the walkthrough late in the afternoon. So usually by about 2 o'clock, we're done. 2 o'clock, Pacific time, we're done with all the interviews and stuff, and you got time to get to work, because previously they would do the walkthrough at, I believe, 10 in the morning, and we were allowed to watch it. So 10 to 11. And then Jason would do, or maybe it was 11 to 12. I can't remember. Jason would do his press conference about 12:30. And then they'd come back out at 3:30, practice. And then, if we wanted interviews with the players, after that practice, they were available. So usually we weren't done till 6:30 or 7. And then you had to go right. So, yeah, this kind of bumps up the day for the media people around here to kind of get your work done. I mean, it was one night this past week, and I was sitting there, and it was like 7 o'clock, and I'm going, oh gosh, what am I going to do? It's like, do I watch television? So it's given us time, I guess, to watch the Olympics.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate it as always.
Okay.
Mickey Spagnola from Oxnard, California, Cowboys training camp with us Thursdays at 4:30. When we come back, Craig's off the radar. Among other things, there's some breaking news in the NBA. He will get to that, plus much more. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer still in pipe. The Pioneer boys have been in business since 1943. They still they sell heavy-duty product, pipe, steel, metal, and they have since 1943. Now, a lot of times a hometown business in whatever size city it might be is very, very successful. And then sometimes the big box corporate stores come in and they just stomp them out. It's not happening with Pioneer Steel and Pipe. 2 locations, Waco and Bryan, building a brand new facility now on Loop 340 and 12th Street in Waco. PioneerBoys.com is the website. They can help you with metal buildings. They can also make sure you get the contractors so that it doesn't turn into a nightmare scenario. Metal, steel, and pipe. They have lasted through everything since 1943. PioneerBoys.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Payments for qualified buyer with 4,000 at 2.9% DTNL extra CD for details. The road is waiting. Explore America and save during the summer savings event at Richard Carr. Savings like a 2015 Nissan Altima for $159 a month, a 2015 Infiniti QX60 for only $243 a month, or a 2015 Ford F-150 for only $393 a month. At Richard Carr, 100% credit approval is always the goal. Log on or get here now and save in the summer savings event at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
Welcome back into SicEm365 Radio. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Off the Radar. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a different Off the Radar because typically we would take a look at some just kind of off the wall, off the radar, so to speak, stories. But since so much of our conversation is being taken up by one thing in particular, and that's conference realignment, and I love it, there's actually some major stories I normally wouldn't touch on in this segment, but here's where we'll do it. And so let's start off with a major day for the city of Washington, D.C., and not in a good way. It looks like a double whammy of trades in two different leagues. And the latest is one that is a little bit further ahead than the other. The Los Angeles Lakers are executing a trade to bring Russell Westbrook to Los Angeles in a deal with the Wizards. Now, earlier today, there had been reports because, of course, the NBA draft is tonight, and we have, as people who cover Baylor, interested in two potential first-rounders in Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler. But ahead of that, there was rumors about Sacramento sending Buddy Hield to L.A., but Washington just swoops in, offers up Russell Westbrook. Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell will go to Washington, and Russell Westbrook joins up with LeBron and Anthony Davis in Los Angeles, and Russell Westbrook, a UCLA guy, so I'm sure he's happy to be home, and we'll see what this new super team version of the Lakers will do.
So how many times is LeBron going to act pissed when Russell dribbles a lot?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be fun.
And he is a phenomenal player. The numbers he's put up, the double-doubles, but where he's been, the teams have been pretty good, but they've never been...
No, and it's probably because of Russ's style of play. They've never been able to, look, they had Russ, James Harden, and KD, and only one of those guys has rings, and it's KD when he aligned with Golden State. So, there's something about that style of basketball, but look, if there's somebody that can get Russ a ring, it's definitely LeBron.
But LeBron had to agree to this, right?
Oh, I'm sure. LeBron,
he's the one that maybe called Russell.
Here's the thing: all Aaron Rodgers wants is the LeBron thing.
Yeah, just ask me.
Just ask me.
Let me give you my opinion.
And again, he just wants a discussion. Yeah. And LeBron knows that he probably carries all the weight, but if they say, LeBron, do you want Russ? And he said, no, I hate Russ and his stupid fake glasses.
He's not going to get him.
He's not going to get him. But no, they're going to get him.
So it looks like, and it's not official yet, but this was, as I mentioned, is going to be a Sacramento-Los Angeles deal. You'd see Buddy Hield go to L.A., but as of now, it's not yet all the way official. But pretty much every NBA writer worth of salt is moving forward with this story. It'll be Russell Westbrook to L.A., Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and Caldwell Pope will head to Washington. So if you're in the city of D.C. today, oh, wow, Russell Westbrook is getting traded away to the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, that's not all, because the Padres are apparently closing in on a deal for Nationals ace Max Scherzer, bringing him over to the West Coast. So a big day for the West Coast and sports trades. You got Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers, it looks like, and it also appears that the Padres will pull off a Max Scherzer deal.
Well, the latest are that the Dodgers are kind of trying to get in, and the Red Sox are trying to get in. Now, that just might be – the Padres are loaded with prospects, So that just might be the Nationals saying, which I'm sure the Dodgers and Red Sox have made offers. My thought is that might be the Nationals saying, like, well, look at this. Look who's all in on this. The Red Sox, when they get World Series coked crazy, you can't stop them. So, Padres, if you want to get in on this, you better kick in that guy we really want. And that rotation would be Scherzer, Darvish, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove at the top, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, the top two especially would be great. What?
No, nothing.
Oh, I thought you were like getting impatient over there. That'd be a heck of a move for the Padres, and got to give it up to Kip Fagg. He was the former, Rangers, or he was in the managerial position with the Rangers, management position with the Rangers, and went off to the Padres and became their GM. And he basically has taken the best of what the Rangers were doing there for a while with the farm system and making trades and being active. And I almost wonder, was he the one making the magic happen back in Arlington?
He and A.J. Preller both. Yeah. And they're both there in San Diego, and holy cow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Preller and Kip. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there, but it's looking like Russell Westbrook to the Lakers, and it's looking like Max Scherzer to the Padres, but we will see if those are finalized or if another team jumps into the mix. But those would be two massive moves, obviously, in Major League Baseball and in the NBA, and there was a major move yesterday. We hadn't even gotten around to really talking about it. Joey Gallo of the Rangers is headed to the New York Yankees. In return, Rangers get 4 prospects in the Yankees' top 22 prospects list. Duran, Smith, Otto, however, are some of the names that maybe minor league baseball fans would recognize, or people who keep up with prospects. Already they've assigned some of them to like Hickory and Round Rock and whatnot. But basically, Joey Gallo's in New York now. I mean, that's the big part of the story, and he'll be playing for the Bronx Bombers.
First of all, an Italian guy in New York is going to work.
Yes.
Second of all,
with that right field line,
that particular Italian guy in that particular stadium is going to be great.
Yeah, but I'm pissed.
It's not like,
and I'm not. It's not like Joey Gallo doesn't keep me up at night because he was traded. It's not like that. It's not like a few of the other former Ranger players. He's a homegrown guy. He wanted to stay. Now I know he's got the evil agent in Scott Boras, and I know that the Rangers are not going to win anytime soon. But man, it's just frustrating. It is really frustrating because all this does is kick the can down the road another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and think about when the Yankees are healthy, which they are absolutely not right now. The middle of that lineup is going to be Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Joey Gallo, and Luke Voit.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right.
That's ridiculous. But
good luck to him. He's really turned himself into a hell of an overall player. Yeah, he strikes out a lot, but he did what a lot of power hitters don't do. He made himself into a hellacious defensive player.
Yeah, he was very good on defense, Gold Glove type outfielder, obviously big swing, big power. And I think the strikeouts thing probably got a bit blown out of proportion, but he's a hell of a player, and he's going to be great for the Yankees. It's a bummer for Rangers fans who have to just figure out like what to get excited about now, basically, because the next move is another trade of some sort, another player, Kyle Gibson likely, going off, and then who knows where they stop there. But Gallo is officially a New York Yankee, and he did well for the Rangers while he was around. So we'll see what happens with all of that. The NFLPA is not very happy today. President J.C. Tretter says that teams are forcing unvaccinated players to wear colored wristbands. He says it's publicly broadcasting a player's vaccination status, which some are wanting to keep private. The Browns said at training camp that teams don't need to use wristbands because it's already easy to tell who is and who is not vaccinated, because all you have to do is take a look at who's wearing a mask and who's not wearing a mask. That's what the Browns say. Tretter also said that forcing unvaccinated players to wear wristbands opens them up to public shaming about their choice to remain unvaccinated. The Browns are one of the teams that's not going the wristband route, but apparently other teams are using the wristbands to identify whether you're vaccinated or not. So, obviously the NFLPA not happy about the way this is kind of going so far, and Not sure this turns into some huge giant battle or anything like that, but it's very interesting to kind of see some of the responses and some of the anger that's starting to build up from certain players and certain people in management.
And look, as we've had some knockdown dragouts about vaccinations on this show, and look, I'm in the camp of I believe people should get vaccinated, but I also know that, look, if it's your personal choice not to, okay, but then it's also an institution's responsibility to protect the health of the other people and protect
Where
the
does
health
HIPAA come into play here? It doesn't.
HIPAA
doesn't.
This is.
Well, remember Dak tried to use HIPAA the other day, and he completely used it in the wrong way.
But to sit there and you have this scarlet letter on you.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The Browns are right. They don't need to do that.
The NFL Players Association needs to fight this happening. They got to protect their players. Even I understand we can go back and forth politically about all this other crap.
No, but what I do think is look, if you're not going to get vaccinated, then you have to live under the COVID rules that were established last year. Of you're going to get tested a lot, you're going to have to wear a mask, you're going to have to limit your interactions. And
you have to paint your body purple.
You shouldn't have to do that last thing.
It's like going into a bar to make sure you're 21. You have to put that wristband on your. Remember that?
Yeah, and I disagree. I think the wristband is just excessive. But
that was the story, the wristband, not the other stuff.
Yeah. So, but that's the other stuff they have to do.
Yeah. So the NFLPA is not happy about it. We'll see what the next step is there. But there are various teams using colored wristbands and. Identifying players that way. So, just a part of the deal of training camp that we knew was coming and should have expected there would be a little bit of blowback on that. Former Baylor basketball player is on the move. Just saw this coming down. Taurean Prince is...
Again?
Yep. The Cleveland Cavaliers have acquired Timberwolves guard Ricky Rubio and a 2022 second-round pick and cash in exchange for former Baylor forward Taurean Prince. So Taurean Prince is heading to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay, Atlanta to Brooklyn to where?
To now Cleveland.
No, before.
Or Timberwolves.
Minnesota.
And now Cleveland.
Yeah. Yep. So Taurean Prince on the move.
And he hadn't played in a while because he's been injured.
Huh? He hadn't played in a while because he's been injured?
Yeah, I mean, he's two or three of these moves has happened while he hasn't been playing, right? I mean, obviously now it's the offseason. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so Taurean Prince is on the move there, and he's kind of bounced around a little bit. We'll see how Cleveland treats him, and also just to wrap it up a little bit, try and use a little pop culture stuff here and there in this segment. But as we mentioned, we've focused so much on college football that a lot of the major headlines have just been off the radar. But any interest in sports movies? I think we all like sports movies. What do you think about a story about Venus and Serena Williams and their father and the way they got to where they are today? Will Smith starring as Richard Williams in the movie King Richard, which will highlight the upbringing and the ascent of the Williams sisters under his tutelage, which I think has had some controversial moments, kind of he was a hard father and obviously drove them very hard, but they just dropped the trailer yesterday. It's not coming out until this fall, but King Richard starring Will Smith as Richard Williams, and I'm not sure of who's playing Venus and Serena, but that'll be coming out here in a few months.
Well, if Will Smith's involved, you're the movie buff.
And he's dabbled in a lot of sports movies. You had Concussion, you had
Ali,
Legend of Bagger Vance, Ali.
Will Smith is really good, although I think he needs a hit. He's on a bit of a cold streak.
He is.
He needs a hit.
You think this would be one?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
You never know. I mean, sometimes
I've seen documentaries or something about Richard Williams and the impact and what he did to push his daughters, and of course both of them turned out to be incredible. But
one of the most funny interviews I've ever seen was Bryant Gumbel interviewing Venus or Serena about some of the things that their dad had said, and they're both like, we love our dad, but he's a little bit out there.
Yeah, certainly. So, that's going to be coming out this fall. And a correction, because Woj tweeted it out incorrectly. The Cavaliers are acquiring Ricky Rubio, 22 second-round pick, and cash for Taurean Prince. He had said something previously and then deleted it, turned it around. So Cavaliers acquiring Timberwolves guard Ricky Rubio, 2022 second-round pick, and cash. Taurean Prince, former Baylor Bears, heading to the Cavaliers. And those are a few stories that are off the radar.
All right. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. In the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to go back to Oxnard and hear from John Machota, covers the Cowboys for The Athletic. Also get to your calls, text, a lot of you. Thank you for watching, listening. We have an hour to go, and this is SicEm365 Radio.
If you are looking for a new home, and look, if you are moving into the Waco area, because many of you who have found our YouTube channel the last week might consider moving here. Chip and Joy and all that stuff. Got great things happening in Waco. If you are moving into Waco or you're selling a home in Waco or in the surrounding areas, you need to call my good buddy Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713. Lance is a fantastic realtor. And look, I saw a sign in my neighborhood the other day. I was walking the dog, and it said, for sale by owner. And look, I get it. It's a seller's market. You may want to cut the real estate agent out of the deal, but you still might not get the best price if you don't really know what you're doing, and that's what Lance Donaldson can do. Don't make the mistake of for sale by owner. Get a great realtor like Lance in your corner to get you that great sales price for your house during this crazy seller's market. So find him online. Just Google Lance Donaldson eXp Realty, Lance Donaldson eXpRealty.com, or give him a call, 254-214-3713.
Make this the summer sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels. If you want sport and luxury, you got to drive the new 2021 Chrysler 300S, where you can get up to $5,500 in total values or 0% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash and no payments for 90 days. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic.
Just a sneak for Prescott, and he's is in. Touchdown.
Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Prescott trying to take advantage. Going deep. Cooper. Oh! One-hander! Are you kidding me?
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. We're going to take a ton of your calls and text messages after this up until the top of the hour at 6. Paul's top 5 in about 50 minutes or so as well, joined by John Machota. TheAthletic.com, and a couple of questions or so about the Cowboys. All right, I'll let Paul, we'll go in reverse order, let you ask him about Dak. Tell us a little bit, John, about the value that Malik Hooker might bring to the table.
Well, if he's healthy, that's the big if, just because it's gone back all the way to college where he's dealt with multiple injuries. So if he's healthy, he's a playmaker on that defense. He's a guy that he'll be out on the field. He'll be a factor on a defense that just hasn't had a lot of playmakers over the last, several years. So but it's all about if he's healthy. Like they're bringing him along slowly right now because, he's less than a year removed from an Achilles injury that ended his season in last September. And that's the thing when he was with the Colts, when he played, he's a good player, but it was just one injury after another. He's a guy that even at the combine, he didn't get to perform because of multiple surgeries. He had a labrum surgery and a hernia surgery. So now that didn't stop the Colts from taking him 15th overall. But if he stayed healthy, I believe he'd still be with the Colts right now. But it's just been one injury after another, and so that's the thing where the doubt creeps in when you're an onlooker of this team and trying to predict what kind of impact he can have. He did say yesterday that he had 6 or 7 teams interested in him, and the reason he didn't sign with the Cowboys back in March when he originally visited was just because he wasn't fully healed yet, and he wanted to continue to rehab and kind of get things right before he made a final decision. And so he also said looking over rosters, factored in. Of course, you look at this roster, safety. I'm sure that just screamed out to him, "Hey, if I'm healthy, I can play. I can get out there right away with this team." So I will say DeMonte KZ, who they ended up signing in March, who visited on the same day with Malik Hooker, he looked pretty good in practice, and I would say right now he's the front runner to be the starting free safety. But they would love to have multiple free safeties that they have to get out on the field because they're just making so many plays.
John, does Dak Prescott's injury, however minor, accelerate the need for a veteran backup with more experience?
I don't think this one does. If it was a little bit more serious, I think that it probably would. But it just doesn't seem like from whoever you talk to out here that it's anything that's really alarming. It's the fact of the reason he didn't do anything. Well, he did individual stuff and worked off to the side in today's practice, but he didn't do any throws with his throwing arm because they're trying to rest it for the next 2 or 3 days and kind of see where it is from there. If it was a little bit more serious, like if there was something, structurally, maybe something with the AC joint, something along those lines, then yeah, I would say so. But it doesn't appear that that's the case here. It appears that it's more muscle related and that, rest is the best thing to go off of. But even if he is 100% healthy, I feel like all offseason talking to you guys, we've brought this up many a times. That's the one position this offseason that they really didn't address after they lost, Andy Dalton signed with the Bears, which no one really expected them to re-sign with the Cowboys. But you kind of thought they would do a little bit more at that position. And I can just tell you from watching all of yesterday's practice and all of today's, where you don't have Dak working in the team drills, it's pretty rough. I mean, it's not exciting offensive football. Now, the defense is loving it, but the big plays are few and far between. So there's a significant drop off between Dak and Garrett Gilbert and Cooper Rush and Ben DiNucci, that's for sure. So if he was to suffer some type of a more serious injury, then yeah, backup would have to be addressed by adding somebody from another team.
Is it frustrating to the skilled people who are trying to make the team, like that third or fourth, fifth, or sixth wide receiver?
Probably is a little bit, because especially right now they're getting more playing time than they probably even advantaged because you got CeeDee Lamb, who isn't going to practice out here. He's probably not going to. He started out the camp on PUP, and so he's going to go back to Dallas, and that'll probably be when he starts practicing. So he's just been working out to the side. And then Michael Gallup flips over the fence the other day, and I don't know if it's an ankle sprain, but he just kind of tweaked his ankle a little bit. And so he hasn't practiced the last 2 days. And so those are two of your top 3 wide receivers right there. So it's opening the door for more reps for some of these other guys. And one guy that particularly has stood out that I didn't really have my eye on coming into camp is Malik Turner. But even with him standing out, there's only so many receiver spots, and it just seems like it's going to be really difficult with not only what the Cowboys receivers do on offense, but guys like Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown, what they also bring on special teams. It's going to be hard to beat one of those guys out to begin with. So if CD, Amari, and Gallup are all ready to go when the season starts, there's not going to be much room for anybody else behind Noah and Cedric Wilson anyway. I right now, I predict it'll be those 5, and then I think that they'll end up keeping that Semi Fehoku that they drafted out of Stanford. I think that they'll end up keeping 6 receivers. So even with all of this, it was going to be hard for some of these other guys on the bottom of the roster to make it at that position.
How much have you seen of Dan Quinn's defense now that, most everybody's out there? I know Tank's not there yet, but about the differences maybe between what Mike Nolan was trying to do and what Dan Quinn is going to do?
Yeah, the one that automatically catches your eye is just how much you do see 3 linebackers out there with Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and Micah Parsons. And when those 3 are out there together, one of either Parsons or Jalen Smith are pretty much a designated pass rusher. So that's something a little bit different than what we had been seeing. And now obviously drafting Micah Parsons opens the door for that because he can, do a variety of things. And, Leighton Vander Esch is healthy right now and moving around. He looks very good out there. He said right now he's as healthy as he's ever been being drafted by the Cowboys. So it is interesting to see all those linebackers out there because, once the season starts, you anticipate them being in a lot of nickel and dime where you only got 1 or 2 linebackers on the field. It seems like they're trying to find ways to get all 3 of them out there. That would be the biggest thing that has kind of caught my eye. The back end is the back end. There's not been a lot of changes there. And then up front, it's just been so hard to really determine, what they have there because, like, as you mentioned, Tank isn't practicing. And on the interior, you have Neville Gallimore. And it's hard to really evaluate it because they're not really hitting. Even with the pads coming on yesterday and then they practiced today again in pads, it's just really hard to evaluate that defensive tackle spot when they're not really tackling to the ground and getting sacks and they kind of have to hold up when they get to the quarterback. So it's one of those things where I don't think we'll really know a good amount until we get into some of these preseason games because defensive tackle to me, especially with them adding Hooker, it moves over now to where defensive tackle is the number 1 position of concern where what are you going to have there? Tristan Hill's a guy that he continues to work off to the side and he's a guy that could potentially start the season on PUP. So defensive tackle will be probably the number 1 position group I'll be watching during the preseason just because we're just not getting a lot of it out here. There were periods when the team would practice out here with Jason Garrett where they would go pretty hard in some of these red zone drills and things like that and tackle, but Mike McCarthy has made it clear that they will not be doing that in this camp.
We got a text, John, with from the 253 on our text line. Is Xavier Howard a good fit in Dallas? I know he makes a ton of money. He's one of the elite corners. It appears to be yet again unhappy in Miami.
Yes. If this was the Major League Baseball and there's not a salary cap, yes, go get him right now. But because there is a salary cap, I'm trying to make sure that in a few years that Trayvon Diggs isn't going anywhere. I'm trying to keep enough money to the side that if Randy Gregory has a good year, he has been impressive out here, albeit, like I said, they're not really tackling to the ground and things like that, but he looks healthy. He looks like he's a good fit for what Dan Quinn wants. Dan Quinn's going out of his way to spend a lot of time with him before and after practice. If Randy Gregory has a career year, I'm trying to keep him around too. And there's only so many dollars to go around with everything that's invested on offense. So if they didn't have Trayvon Diggs, I'd say, yeah, you got to go get him because you don't really have a number 1 corner. But I think Trayvon Diggs is the number 1 corner, and I want to make sure that when I'm paying my corner big time money, it's going to be a guy like Trayvon Diggs that we've had in the program, and we know what we have there because this organization really hasn't spent big on the DB position. I think Trayvon Diggs will be a guy that they're looking to do that too. So yeah, if it was, like I said, if they were the New York Yankees and they could just go out and make moves and whatever and just pay guys whatever, and there was no salary cap, then yeah, go get Xavier Howard. But because of here's the thing, like even if you go get him, I mean, that statement he put out the other day, it's very clear that it's not like he just wants out of Miami because he doesn't like playing for that team. He wants out of Miami because he wants to be one of the highest paid corners in the league. And I don't see how that fits with what the Cowboys are building right now.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Enjoy the trip where you are and also what you have coming up. Cowboys play in Canton, Ohio soon. In the Hall of Fame, of course, 3 players, Drew Pearson, Cliff Harris, and also Jimmy Johnson will be going in. When we come back, we have not been able to get to your text or phone calls because of guests that we have that hopefully you enjoy them, but that's what we do next. 254-339-1122. Your texts, your calls, SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They got the summer savings event going on right now at Richard Carr, and they are your hometown dealer. They are also big on customer service, and they're big on getting you into a safe and comfortable ride this summer as you're traveling across America with the family or friends or whatever you may be up to. Everybody getting outdoors right now. So with travel back, you want to be in a car that makes you feel good, that's comfortable, that's safe. Well, you can get back on the road with space, safety, and luxury with a Buick. Right now, well-qualified buyers get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. Richard Carr also is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, all of them priced to move during the summer savings event, with multiple cars and trucks priced to get you back on the road this summer. And each one of these pre-owned vehicles goes through a 172-point inspection before it ever hits the lot. With dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. And Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Come by the dealership and take a test drive, or you can set up an appointment and they can bring the test drive to you. It's a summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, again, within the last hour, and again, it might have been hours ago, but reported Ross Dellinger, SI.com, that the SEC has voted unanimously to accept the invitation to at least extend the invitation of the interest of Texas and Oklahoma. They will vote tomorrow and say, thank you, we want to come there. And the lingo is we welcome them in the summer of 2025. And then that happens tomorrow, and then the legal wrangling, and we'll find out. I want you both to tell me. There's 4 years left on the grant of rights, correct? Mm-hmm. 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Yeah.
4 years left. What's the over-under? What is your prediction of how many years they play? We know this year. How many years of the 4 will they play in the Big 12?
2.
Yeah, I would have said 1 just this upcoming season earlier in the week. I still kind of lean in that direction. I just don't know. With all the legalities and you know, all, because I think that I think that Texas could probably jump up and pay that buyout. And I know there's all sorts, like, it's hard to know what to believe and what not to believe. Cause apparently 2 days ago, Kevin Eltife, head of all the regents and everything, had the money ready to go and all that. So I don't know. I think we need to see kind of, the next few days, what course of action is taken, but at most 2, but I'm almost right now just banking on next year being the grand finale.
I'm going to sit there and say this will be it. You have 2 powerful universities, and if they want to leave, they're going to figure it out, no matter how much it costs. And, of course, they might not end up paying more than 50 cents on a dollar. I don't know. The grant of rights, the penalties, whatever it is. And the earlier they leave and you let them leave and negotiate a buyout, right, doesn't that benefit the 8 that remain so they can know what their future is, what money they have, and make their plans?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that 4 years to plan it out would help, if you can't figure it out in 4 years.
No,
but things move so fast. And look, the Pac-12 has a TV deal up in 2023. The ACC, I think they're locked up till 2036, but that doesn't mean that.
But they got to be watching their backs right now.
They have to. Like, look, okay, I know there's a $50 million penalty plus grant of rights, but you tell me North Carolina can't pay that?
Well, I mean
it's a rich school.
Dennis Dodd pointed out that, the buyouts, I think he said just a little while ago that UT and OU, based on what they would be receiving, moving forward, they'd make up the buyout money in about 2 seasons. So, that's worth it.
Yep.
I mean, you pay that large chunk and then you're done. But then there's also the money involved with the TV rights and everything. And that's where it starts to make it complicated in my head. Instead of it just simply being just like this one buyout payment and then you move on, it's not exactly that simple. But yeah, Dennis Dodd was saying that earlier. And I mean, who knows what other pieces move too, because, Nicole Auerbach in The Athletic today, she was saying, I actually had it right here. One idea circulating amongst commissioners, ADs, and even university presidents is the SEC is positioned in itself for future growth, perhaps leading to the eventual formation of a 30-something team super league that potentially governs itself, a mini NFL, if you will. It could even include collective bargaining and salaries for players. Now, that last line completely loses me. I have no interest in CBA talks and reports and salaries for college football players. Maybe others get a kick out of that. That just makes me not even want to pay attention to it. And this is just something she's floating that I'm sure has some backing to it. But, maybe this is not the end. And if that is the case, then that means they got to double the number of teams they have, which would then throw gasoline on the Big Ten, Pac-12 merger, and perhaps going and dipping into the ACC if you're the SEC and grabbing Clemson and FSU. I don't know.
All right, 254-339-1122, go.
All right, I think it's Howard in Oregon, or it could be Holly. It depends on what the robot said. But Oregon, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
First thing I want to do is apologize to you guys. I went kind of on a rant the other day, but I was thinking about this whole thing, and I wanted to get your input on this since you guys are the experts on sports. Now, I'm speaking about this as a Pac-12 fan, a real Pac-12 fan. How about this? Having a coastal division with the California schools, Oregon, and Washington. That would be 8 schools. Okay? Then you could have, it would be kind of something like the ACC setup, have an inland division. And I would have Utah, Colorado, Arizona, ASU, and from the Big 12, I would take TCU, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. My only thing is, to make it an 8-team inland division, I would want BYU because of their rivalry with Utah and their location with the other schools around them. And you would have 16-team league. Each team in their division would play each other once. And then from like the coastal and the inland could, make up the other 3 games, and you can just rotate teams around. And you would have a Pac-12 super conference.
Howard, I'm going to ask you this, and please don't infer any bias because we are a Baylor-affiliated show, but why TCU and not Baylor?
Okay, this is my reasoning, and I thought about this. I thought about the 2 scandals that have been going on in the Pac-12 South. I don't know if you guys are, they fired Sean Miller in basketball because one guy's in prison, and they fired another assistant for academic stuff. And then you have Herm Edwards at ASU, who was escorting people during the COVID lockdown at all hours of the night. So the ASU football program is going to be under a microscope. The reason I picked TCU, now you guys maybe can help me out on this. I think they're a squeaky clean program, correct?
Nobody's squeaky clean, and they've had a couple of bumps. They've had some bumps and bruises.
They had a massive cocaine scandal 10 years ago.
Well, I wouldn't say massive because most people didn't even hear about it, honestly. In comparison to Baylor, you're right. Yeah. In comparison to Baylor, they have, nothing in comparison.
Correct. And I picked BYU because, they have like an honor code for every freshman when they get in there. That school is squeaky clean. The only thing they got is they got some things. I don't know if they still don't want to play on Sundays. That would give the Pac-12 4 private schools: USC, Stanford, TCU, and who else am I missing here? Stanford, USC, TCU, and I'm missing one other school.
Brigham Young?
Brigham Young. Yeah. That's right. I forget it because they're not in the conference. So out of the 16 teams, it would give them 4 private schools, and they would have 12 public schools. I don't know. I kind of like it as a Pac-12 guy. I don't like what's happening in the Pac-12 South with those in basketball and football. It's kind of weird, And I'm not too sure USC has ever recovered from the Pete Carroll, Reggie Bush thing. That's been years ago. That thing screwed that program up.
All right, we're losing your signal. I think it may be a wireless phone or whatever. Every time I ask anybody that's a Pac-12 fan about Brigham Young, the first thing they talk about is their mission statement, about some of the things they are religiously. And so if that's the case with what they think about Brigham Young when there was realignment the first place, I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah, well, we just got a text from a BYU fan that said he wanted to give a little insight on that. He said that BYU went independent in 2010, largely in response to the arch rival Utah going to the Pac-12. The Mountain West didn't really live up to any of the promises that were made to them, so they took the plunge and went independent. And when it looked like the Big East was caving in and the Pac-12 wasn't interested and the Big 12 didn't seem interested either, so the Pac-12 is a perfect geographic fit
for Brigham Young, but not cultural. Yeah.
So, and again, they might tolerate Baylor and TCU, but I mean,
they might.
Well, here's the thing. What money does that bring?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. All the scenarios about adding and getting to 16 teams, 18 teams, 20 teams are fun to think about and all that. But what does TCU do for the Pac-12? Now, yes, it opens up Texas, and it maybe helps recruiting there, and I get that. But ultimately, if you're the Pac-12 and there is any juice to these Big Ten rumors, I mean, that's the direction you go, more so than adding schools. But, I definitely understand your point. It would matter, though, does the Pac-12 want to expand and stay to itself? Or are they more intrigued by the possibility of a super alliance, super conference? Are they more intrigued by just staying as is and letting the market kind of play out? Because that's the thing, man, is everybody's trying to make a move right now. Everybody's in reaction, right? Not necessarily because it's the best thing, but now everybody's like, oh, shoot, we better get to this conference and get security before, all hell breaks loose. But who's to say hell's going to break loose? There's lots of rumors right now, but I think we kind of have to see the steps, the next step. And I know that requires patience, and none of us really have the patience. We want to know exactly what's going to happen right now. But I think the Pac-12, rather than being the aggressor and, picking, here's the thing with going and getting TCU in them right now. What's the rush? They're just sitting ducks right now, So, you can go get them pretty much probably at any time, really. And you could do it in a couple years from now. Wait and see what happens with Texas, OU, and the Big 12 itself. And if the Big 12 looks like it's on its last life, then, swoop on in, grab, Texas Tech or TCU or whoever. But I think, until you see what the next movement is going to be, that would be kind of a move just to make a move. In my opinion. I don't know about you guys.
You don't add somebody to any conference, and back to the calls, unless you value their revenue stream. No matter the wins and losses, right. West Virginia, 15th all-time winningest college football team. Great history. But what do they bring to the table? That's not a negative shot at West Virginia. That's what you could say about almost everybody left, and some of those remaining within the Big 12, if not all of them.
Yeah. Let's go back to the phones. Chris from Missouri, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hi, guys. It's Chris again. Good to talk to you. I have a question about the guarantee of rights and your Champions Bowl status. Let's say Texas and Oklahoma leave after 1 year. Now, you still got 3 years of your guaranteed rights with, televised, games. But your champion, does he become an at-large at that point? I'm wondering what the larger implications are. You used to be locked in with the Fiesta Bowl, so you had a primary status for each one of the conference champions. But if Texas and Oklahoma leave, is there an agreement in that to where the Fiesta Bowl can just walk away and you're not seen as any different than the AAC champion? I'm just wondering, because all of this legally, what ESPN and Big 12 they did, it kind of puts you guys in a really bad position. And I'm wondering, legally, where do you go from here and what ramifications those moves have? Thanks.
I don't know if I can answer that.
You got to wonder what the conference championship, how the conference is viewed. They're still a Power 5 until somehow they're not. Until whatever they said. So
until the contract runs out or they lose enough teams. I mean, they're a Power 5. Yeah, they are. And even if they go down to, I think they can get down to 6 teams and they would still, contractually be considered a Power 5. And so that's why I floated this idea yesterday. If you're, let's just use Baylor as an example. You're on the phone with TCU and however many others you need, whatever the minimum threshold is for the Big 12 to maintain its Power 5 status and its contractual obligations as best they can. That might be 5 or 6. I'm not sure. I think it might be 6. So if it gets down to 4, that's even better. But you sit there and wait. Because if Kansas wants to go and jump to the Big 10, let's just say that's realistic, well, guess what Kansas has to do then? Guys, what do they have to do then?
If it what?
If Kansas were to jump to the Big Ten, what does Kansas have to do?
Pay a grant of rights.
Pay a grant of rights.
Right.
How much is that? $80 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're all of a sudden you're down to 7 schools. That's going to split $240 million. Somebody else wants to jump Texas Tech to the Pac-12. They're still Power 5. And that's now 4 buyouts that 6 schools would be splitting. $320 million divided by 6 schools potentially. So I think, until you are absolutely forced off your position, which could come through lawsuits or just everybody bails or whatever, I'm staying pat. Now, if the Big Ten were to call or the Pac-12 were to call and say, like, we guarantee you this and this and this and this, yeah, you have to think about that. But, guys, it doesn't appear that any of these conferences are doing that with these Big 12 schools. All the rumors about the Big 12 schools are coming from Big 12 fans, pretty much. I mean, Texas and OU, that was obvious, but like Iowa State to the Big Ten, West Virginia to the ACC, and I'm doing the same exact thing, so I'm not knocking the rumors because I'm all involved in it as well. But like with each day that passes, that interest doesn't seem to be gaining. It seems to almost be like more so wishful thinking on the parts of fan bases. You know what I mean? So that money is huge. And looking at it from Baylor or TCU's perspective, where nothing's guaranteed past this Big 12 contract, I'm taking all the money that I possibly can to set myself up as possible, as fit as I can be for whatever is around the corner next.
I agree. David Anderson, by the way, the Big 12 is tied in with the Sugar Bowl unless it is a playoff game. 254-339-1122, 832. Has anyone released the exact language in the current TV deal that allows the network to lower the payouts if Oklahoma and UT leave before 2025? I don't think there's any kind of lowering of the payments because it's a 4 years left in the contract that everybody gets a certain amount. And that's why there's this legal wrangling. And I could be wrong about that. Don't get me wrong. I haven't read the bylaws, and if I did, I wouldn't understand them. But based on what we see, the money stays the same. And if Oklahoma and Texas, whenever they decide that's the time they're going to leave, they pay whatever years times whatever the normal is, and then could be penalties, and then they'll settle somewhere, wouldn't you think, 50 to 80%, well, 50 to 60% of the dollar is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But as far as if Texas and Oklahoma leave, can ESPN lower the value of the TV contract? They will just split it up over 8 teams minus the amount of money that Oklahoma and Texas would get because that's been paid to the conference. I hope that made sense. 254-339-1122.
John in Kentucky, you're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, guys, first-time caller. I'm going to give you a little bit of different perspective about calling from SEC land and ACC land here up in Kentucky. Now, I used to have family that worked in the University of Louisville athletic department when all that whole debacle with the Big 12 went on. And I'm just going to tell you this, you guys, you all need to focus on yourself and do exactly what Louisville did, because after 9-0 and what Bowlesby did to Louisville, they told them to wait a year, they'd be in, and they said, no, we're going to stay. Louisville was armed and ready, so when the ACC came along, there was bar none, no other school that had a better package ready for the ACC to try to gain interest to that school and that conference. I would just like to know how you all feel about the fact that where would you have been if you had added 12? You'd still have 10 teams right now. You wouldn't be in the near same situation. Now, I don't have anybody left in my family working at Louisville, but I do have a friend that works in an HAC school a little bit north. And what he told me, as I asked, because I was curious to see what's going to happen, is he said that they think the ACC is waiting to see what Kansas is going to do. Because the bottom line is if you don't have football, what's the next best revenue sport? So I think they're waiting on Kansas. I think there's every possibility that they could come in and take either all of them or a few of them. And what they're talking about, and by the way, what the SEC is talking about doing is a pod system. And if I could recommend anything to you guys at all, is I know your athletic director is doing that, but get focused, sign targets, be ready, because guys, you could get all the money in the world, but if you have no future, you still have no future, because this is what this is really about. Because with what the SEC has done, it's basically a monopoly.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. No, thanks for the call. We gotta move on. That's what they're doing. If you think they're sitting on their hands while also trying to figure out legally what they can or cannot do or what they can get from Texas, Oklahoma, they are making calls. They are trying to figure it out. But the first thing that they have to do is take care of their own backyard, and that backyard is whatever the grant of rights, Texas and Oklahoma, will end up whatever that number is paying.
And just I'd love for just to point out this part. You said about you guys. Okay, it ain't like that. It's not our decisions being made. We're just talking about it like college football fans do. I mean, that's Mack Rhodes and Linda Livingstone, and that's their problem, not ours. But as far as we're talking about money and all that, if we're talking about nearing $200 million for 8 schools. Now, $20 million per might not sound like a lot, but guess what? $20 million per is a lot of freaking money. Even if you're talking about schools that can pay $50, $60, $70, $80 million buyouts like OU and UT. Clearly, not a lot of the remaining Big 12 schools have the interest or the attention of these other conferences. At least it appears that way as of right now. So while that money, is not going to help in are you saying like don't worry about the money and worry about the future? But what if the future's not that bright? That money becomes all that much more important. $20 million suddenly when you're used to making 35 and now instead you're in the AAC and you're making 8. That's dramatic. That's a dramatic drop off. So I would think that if you are going to have to be forced into a transition like that where you're suddenly accustomed to a certain lifestyle and now you're living a couple floors down and not living that same lifestyle, that big fat check you got, like your severance package or whatever, that's going to matter. That's going to matter a hell of a lot. So money absolutely is a focus here, but don't think for just 1 second that they're not also at the same time talking and planning and, I don't think anybody's sitting back resting on any laurels right now because the ones remaining don't have a whole lot of laurels that are of interest apparently to a lot of the other conferences out there.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have a parachute. No, you mark my words, they're going to have a parachute. And
it might not be a great landing spot, but it'll be a parachute.
This has been handled a lot better than the last time this happened.
But yeah, I see so many people disregarding the money side of it. And it's like, what did this all start over? Money. It all started over money. It all started over the fact Texas can pay a $60 million buyout and make it up in 2 years in the SEC. None of the 8 schools can do that. They've got to get what they can get while they can get it because there's a good chance that none of those 8 are living in the same apartment complex that they were. Yeah. They don't have the same good paying job. They're all of a sudden working like middle of the road. They got to go downsize. And so I don't know about you, but I'd like to have a big fat nest egg to lay on, at least if I'm going to have to do that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Mike in Dayton, Ohio, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, I just want to throw one thing out there. What if the Pac-12, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 decided just to form their own league? Then the SEC could have all 12 teams in their own little playoff.
I saw somebody say earlier. I saw something earlier today, and I wish I could give credit to the person who tweeted this. They were like, "All right, how about the Pac-12 joins up with the Big Ten, takes the remaining Big Ten teams, and then it was something to where it basically averaged out to having a Power 5 again. Like it was a roundabout way of doing all these moves just to turn around and have 5 more conferences again, or whatever. It was funnier the way it was worded, and I kind of botched that, but." Yeah, what do you guys think about what he had to say there?
Look, if the SEC wants to push everybody out, the other people have to find some way to go along, So I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that if somebody wants college sports to stay at least somewhat like it was, I mean, there's so many different things with the NIL and transfer portal and, super conference and all that. But if we want to keep it that's different from the NFL, because why wouldn't I just watch the NFL on Sundays and spend Saturdays doing something else? If it's just going to be the same thing 2 days in a row, then, why do I want to watch that? Like, part of the difference is the beauties and the differences like that. And so somebody's got to stand up and say, this is what college football is.
Yes. And, it's fun if you're on the winning side right now and that it's going to remain the big winners. If you're an SEC fan, like, hey, that the future's bright and it's going to be Oklahoma and Texas now playing this game and all that. But that accounts for what, like less than a quarter of actual college football? Mm-hmm. So you're talking about a lot of teams that aren't going to be in that in club. And I know that the big schools don't care. I mean, they've made that very clear. They don't care about what happens at little schools. But I just think that kind of sucks because the big schools have been helping float the little schools. And the little schools have had their moments that make college football great. They're not the only ones that make college football great. Alabama, Auburn, all those teams do too. But there is something special about having, more than just the NFL teams, so to speak, involved. You know what I
don't
mean?
like the European soccer model that we're heading towards.
Well, neither did Europe.
But to his point about that question, I did read the Nicole Auerbach thing just a few minutes ago about the SEC and potentially moving towards a 30-team NFL light Super League. So to what you were saying there, anything's on the table right now, it appears, including the possibility that the SEC is not done, which we've kind of discussed, but Nicole Auerbach just threw a little more gasoline on that today. That would mean they'd have to double the size they already are after adding Oklahoma and Texas.
You're going to Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, and Florida State. Hey, guys, great show. LSU grad, but grew up Baylor fan. Does Houston, SMU, La Tech, Tulsa start calling? They might, but right now, if you're the Big 12, you don't even know really what you're answering until you figure out your own immediacy. But those teams have all been brought up. There's been 15 or 18 teams, but appreciate the time. Good luck to LSU. Go Tigers. But sure they are. I would think so. But they've also called before some of them and been rejected. So they might go, hey, we'll wait for you to fold and you come join us, which has been one of the stories about the AAC that we discussed early in the show.
All right, let's go to Cecil in Tampa, my old stomping grounds. Cecil, thanks for your call.
Yeah, great show, guys. I love the comments that you guys interact with. But what I would like to see is the Mountaineers join back up and we get a chance to play Pittsburgh, and we might get to see Mountaineers and Pittsburgh go twice a year if they're in different brackets in the conference.
In the ACC?
Dream, but anyway.
Yeah,
in the ACC.
Yeah, they would play once a year, you would hope. I love to see. That's one of the things that's happening here that does get not overlooked, but a lot of these great long-time rivalries that have dissolved or have been interrupted, and now you have to play in a non-conference game. Obviously, the West Virginia-Pittsburgh history is great, but for them to play twice a year in the ACC, Paul, that means one of them is going to have to win a division with Clemson in it, and perhaps on occasion. But
they play in basketball twice a year, though, probably.
But in basketball, they would play twice a year. Hey, first of all, thanks for listening in Tampa. Great city. Love Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, I know that a lot of West Virginia fans have been commenting on a potential move to the ACC. It seems, geographically, obviously, that's the no-brainer. It makes a ton of sense. Now, is the ACC interested? That's the question. I mean, I think West Virginia would full bore go, okay, cool. That's be the best conference they've been in maybe ever. I mean, if you think about it.
No more trips to Lubbock and Stillwater, great.
But, at the same time, do they bring enough to the table? And this is not for me to answer. I'd bring on West Virginia, but I'm also not the head of a conference and negotiating TV rights and, all of that. Does West Virginia come in and add value? Or do they come in and they dilute the pool to where if you're Florida State, you were making, let's just say, $40 million per year. Now you're making $38 million per year because now everybody's splitting with another piece of the pie with West Virginia. Now, if they came in and all of a sudden you're going from $40 to $42 million because you added West Virginia, then hell yeah, bring on the Mountaineers. But like everything else, man, it's all about money and it's all about interest. And the ACC seems to be, in the mix of a lot of rumors right now. Maybe West Virginia is a part of that. Maybe it's them just trying to hold their house together because they know what the SEC is up to and they've already seen what they did with OU and Texas. But I know there's a lot of ACC fans, Paul, that have frustration over the conference and whatnot. And I didn't really know a lot about that. I kind of knew there was some grumblings or whatever, but I've seen a lot of that the last couple of days.
There's only 3 schools that really have weight in that conference. It's Clemson, North Carolina, and FSU. And so everybody else in the ACC kind of has to feel a little bit like the Big 12 teams right now in that, well, let's hope our teams with weight don't decide to go looking somewhere else. And I know Virginia probably has because it's a big school, but as far as athletic departments go, it's UNC's huge, Clemson is big, and Florida State's big. So
here's from the 253 on Craig. You talking about that $20 million each that they would get to check the remaining 8 teams. That's great. it might help milk 1 year of current TV rights, but not very long. It won't last long if the TV rights drop.
No.
I'm not sure how all that works.
No, I agree. I'm not thinking that the TV payout money would be, something that floats you for the next decade. Oh, of course not, because, Baylor likes to spend money as much as they like to bring in money. And so they're not going to, I don't think, unless they're absolutely forced to, tone down, facility upgrades and things of that nature. But that would help more than $0 would. And then ended up in the same exact spot regardless. So, again, if you're Baylor, and right now we've already heard the Pac-12's too uppity for a school like Baylor, right? The ACC might not even be the ACC soon. They might be the Super ACC, SEC or something like that. So you can't guarantee a spot there. Big Ten's not interested. SEC's not interested. So what does that leave you with? It leaves you with maybe one possible landing spot or eventually folding in with the AAC and however that's going to ultimately work. So if you're Baylor, what is your motivation to do that? You don't have any. To walk away, take a step down, and not have any money to show for it, if you're going to walk away and have to take a step down, I'd rather have $20 million than $0. And so that's where I'm coming from with that. But no, of course, no, it's not going to, none of these payouts, unless my theory earlier of like 4 teams stick together and they get like $320 million from 6 departing schools, that'd be the only way you'd make that money run long. But yeah, no, certainly there'd have to be some A, B, C, D plan follow-up steps after that.
254-339-1122.
Tony in Arlington, Virginia. Thanks for your call.
How you guys doing? I found your show on YouTube. I wish I'd have found it 2 years ago. You guys do a good job talking college football. My question to you guys is, why would the Big Ten align themselves with the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 is kind of losing money? That's my first question to you. My second question to you is, do you think at some point doing this whole process and realignment and the expansion of the playoffs that the conferences are going to lock Notre Dame out of the room and they've got to make a choice to join a conference? My third question, and I'll let you go after this, is I'm a massive Miami Hurricanes fan. I might live in Northern Virginia, but I'm a massive Hurricanes fan. Where do you think we fall and all of this craziness is about to happen? And also another comment, you'd be surprised the alumni and the influence that West Virginia has in the Northern Virginia, D.C. metropolitan area. They have a huge alumni base here, and I think that may be attractive to the ACC to go grab West Virginia, but who knows?
All right.
You guys keep doing what you're doing. I'll sit back and listen to you comment and answer my question.
First of all, thanks for finding us. And again, the YouTube channel's 365 Sports. We appreciate all of you and the amount of calls and states and numbers and all that. You guys, everyone's been great. Not just guys, people. The West Virginia thing that's intriguing to me. Hasn't the ACC had a chance to pick them up before?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what is missing there. They seem like regionally, there's the Pittsburgh connection. There's even, Baltimore, Paul? And
as I mentioned, Northern Virginia.
And it's a very populous area. So I don't know what's missing there. And I know people, that's Morgantown. Well, most college towns are are small.
Well, they also have, the ACC has Blacksburg. It's exactly like Morgantown.
Yeah. Most college towns are not, they're not Pepperdine. And that's, now, University of Miami, they just where they are, right?
Yeah, and they're attractive because of their history, their locale. But it's still a smaller private schools. But Miami has cachet.
I'm saying they got. I don't care if they have value.
That's the U, baby.
Yeah,
that's the U.
They got. We talk about a brand, even though it's been a while. And with the Eric King this year, who knows? But
Miami is fine. Miami is fine no matter how crappy they got, just because they're in a golden TV market, a TV market that's never going to get smaller. That you'd want, and no matter if you talk about Florida State or Florida or whoever runs the state at the time, Miami controls that market. That's where the fans are, is the Hurricanes. So.
Yeah, but they don't have a pull on the market like
the Dolphins do. But
no, most colleges have in their towns.
Yeah.
So I think it's a smaller school, as Paul said, but the academics are there. We know that there's some big money there as well, and there's obviously the tradition and the history. It's odd that you asked that, because that's one school I haven't really read a ton about, quite honestly. I've seen all the FSU and Clemson to the SEC super conference, and I've seen West Virginia to the ACC, and kind of the perception I get going back to West Virginia is, I don't know that the ACC is interested in them, but it will come back to what we talk about next, which is Notre Dame. I think that would be their way into the ACC, would be if Notre Dame decided to join, but we'll get to that part next. But yeah, I just haven't heard a lot or read a lot about Miami. I think they're probably in a little bit of a holding pattern right now, because it appears, if anything, if anybody's going to get poached from the ACC, Florida State and Clemson seem to be the two most often mentioned. So would they want to go beyond that? I would think Miami would have to be pretty close in line following that, but North Carolina would probably be ahead of them.
Yeah, and I don't see, Notre Dame still has so much clout that the conference is trying to ice them out may not even matter. So.
True. Yeah,
the only thing is not to schedule them anymore. That would be the only thing they could do. We're not scheduling, you should get in conference.
Yeah, you could freeze them out in theory. I don't know. I mean, I would think that they're going to have to get pulled one way or the other, but at the same time, they can get pulled all they want and still not do anything. You would you would have to almost give them an ultimatum to join, or you're not going to have a very good time following.
One of the other things he asked about, you lock Notre Dame in a closet? Notre Dame can sit there and go ahead.
Their closet's bigger than my house.
Closet, their closet's like Madonna's or whoever has some big old house or mansion.
Why did
I say her?
Notre Dame's not going to get forced to any.
Notre Dame is not going to be.
They're
going to
walk into like a rose petal, like Coming to America. Like they're going to walk on roses. They'll be fine.
Let's get another couple of calls in, then Paul's top five.
He did also ask. So West Virginia, not sure how much legitimate interest there is with the ACC. Miami Hurricanes, we don't quite know what's going to happen. They're not really being mentioned a lot right now. Notre Dame's probably not going to be bullied, but maybe if the powerful people gave them an ultimatum they can't pass, then maybe that would happen. And he also asked about the Pac-12 and the Big Ten and why they would want to do that. And we've talked about the best option. We talked about that a little bit. And yeah, if you're those top 5 or 6 schools that the Big Ten might be interested in, Oregon, USC, Cal, et cetera, well, you're looking at your long-term future. The Pac-12 hadn't exactly been the best-run conference, and if you're looking across if you split America sideways, basically, the SEC's forming this whole southeast pocket. You might want to be a part of this big-time Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, USC, Cal, et cetera pocket. You're getting in with the Joneses is basically why you would do that. Now, what that does to the rest of the Pac-12, I don't know.
All
right. 2 more real quick. Mark in Florida, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
How are y'all doing today?
Doing great, Mark.
I wanted to call with something I learned today about UCF that I had never known. So I texted it in too, but I had some more information. So I didn't know the last 5 years they've had more NFL draft picks at 75% of the Power 5 teams. They've had 15 people go to the pros. 13 of them are starters still to this day. I didn't know that. Excuse me. And TV market-wise, every game that's been on national TV for UCF has outdrawn every single Big 12 game except for 2 Oklahoma games and 1 Texas since 2017. Didn't know any of that. We need them in our conference. It'll be perfect fit. I'm an OSU fan. I think it'll be perfect. I didn't realize their market was so big. I didn't realize their fan base was so big. It makes sense with the amount of alumni they have. But with those numbers, I think that's a great addition. They obviously are producing talent. Gus Malzahn is now there, so that helps them. But I didn't realize their numbers, TV-wise, were so drastic. And I don't know why they are. I don't watch their games, but that just shocked me that their numbers beat almost all of our games.
And I also saw something, and this was something I guess it would be Nielsen, where their numbers in Orlando are now higher than anybody else when it comes to TV, the college football. Now, it's hard to imagine with Florida and Florida State, even though the Seminoles have been down a little bit, Miami's been down, that their numbers in Orlando is no longer, they don't really carry Orlando like Houston or TCU and Fort Worth. No, they actually are doing a pretty good job there.
Look, the last 5 years have been this weird kind of flux of the teams in Florida, that Florida State's been down, Florida's on the come back up, and Miami is right here in the
and UCF,
and then UCF has gone.
Yeah,
UCF
absolutely.
went up, and then USF, I should say, went up and then went back down a little bit. But UCF, I'm intrigued by them. I think if the Big 12 were more forward thinking, that maybe that would have been a move that they should have made a couple years ago. And a lot of people point to that expansion that never ended up expanding that the Big 12 went through, and I still don't think that saves them from this situation right here. That's the thing is. Yeah, hindsight's 20/20, but even if they had added those schools, I still think Texas and OU want to walk and go to the SEC regardless for all that money. So you'd still be in a similar position, although maybe you wouldn't have to go about adding teams. And UCF is gigantic as far as enrollment goes. They've got last count, 71,948 students. 70,000 plus students, including 61,000 plus undergrads, 10,000 graduate students, and 490 medical students. So it's a massive university in a good metro area that's definitely growing and thriving. So, if the Big 12 does stay together and they're able to make something happen, that would be one of my first phone calls for sure.
One of the other things apparently about UCF is a huge, a pretty nice amount of military online students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Last call, John from Louisville. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Just a couple points. I know you all got to get to the top 5 at 5. You all said that Louisville that you mentioned people who carry weight in the ACC. I'd argue that Louisville carries quite a bit of weight in the ACC because we're one of the only 2 top 20 revenues. Us and Florida State are the only 2 top 20 revenue schools in the conference. And if you're looking at it from a business perspective, you would want to have schools. Yeah. You would want to have schools that make money and add money.
Yeah.
But going to WVU just really quickly, for whatever reason, the old people, the North Carolinas, the Dukes, the older schools in the ACC just don't like North Carolina. But you'll see how that if West Virginia does get an invite, it will determine whether or not the power, because the football schools do. If they do come into the conference, it'll be Clemson and Florida State making the call. That's how Louisville got in. Mm-hmm. They came in on football, and Clemson and Florida State, because I know Duke didn't want them. They wanted UConn. So, but I know you guys got to get to your top 5 at 5. I'll hop off.
Well,
Thanks, John.
And I thank you. I thought that when they had a chance to take West Virginia, there was some of that, but then they took Louisville. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, aren't they kind of similar?
Yeah, but I mean, he said Louisville's a revenue producer.
I wish the Big 12 would have been smart enough to do that.
And they had, I guess they probably still do, but they had Papa John's, especially at the time, as a big sponsor.
And I'm not trying to, isn't there a concern about Louisville's academic standing or whatever? And I hate when people start doing that. And yet
And I don't know their exact numbers, but that is something that you see thrown out quite a bit for certain conferences. And I don't know what the ACC's, standards are or whatever. A good thing Duke wasn't making the decision, right? In hindsight, bringing in UConn over Louisville, that would have been a disaster. But I guess in basketball it would have worked. But I don't know. I mean, I think one of the big swings and misses by the Big 12 was not adding Louisville. I think we can all agree on that. I think we can agree that most of the teams they could have added a few years ago probably don't make much of a difference in where we get now. But going further beyond that, when they did add West Virginia, Louisville was there for the taking, right? I mean, they weren't in a position to where they were just like, no, we're in the ACC already. We're good. No, Louisville wanted to come to the Big 12. Seemed like Big 12 had interest, and for whatever reason, it didn't amount to anything. But, kudos to the Cardinals, and I'm sure somebody will be interested, or the ACC stays pat. We'll see.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club, online at slapstickscomedy.com. Get your tickets for this weekend. Open mic tonight, 9 o'clock. And, of course, stand-up and improv this weekend. I'm there next weekend, August 6th and 7th. So come and see me. Get your tickets now. And this one, top 5 realignment things that won't happen. These are not going to happen. None of these things are going to happen. So... if you're on YouTube, save this video, play it again and again when you have some of these ideas. Not going to happen. Number 5, Bob Bowlesby is not going to renew his ESPN Plus subscription. That's not going to happen.
How do we know he's not?
That might be a part of the settlement with them.
He's like a big Euro soccer fan or something. He needs the access to ESPN Plus, but probably not.
He will borrow someone else's password.
Yeah,
that's what he will do. Number 4, Texas A&M is not going to make some sort of power play. Like that's one of the weirdest things I've heard is that they're going to make some sort of, they're going to stand up and look, they voted, it was unanimous today.
Wait a minute.
And what would that be?
Yeah. Last night they said, okay, we're going to let them come in. We vote to say yes. Today, the SEC 14-0. Yeah. Tomorrow, Texas and Oklahoma say, hey, you guys still want us? And they do. So that power plays, they're over.
Yeah, that's definitely not happening.
The only power play is to go win some football games with the expectations as high as they are for this season.
Yeah. And one of these things on the list happened. I was hoping it would happen tomorrow, but it happened today, so it's going to make it. We'll have fun with it. Number 3, ESPN is not going to admit their role in this. There is no way they're going to admit what their role is.
Otherwise, they would be owned by the Big 12.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to admit it. They're not going to. It's not going to happen.
Bob Bowlesby would be like director of programming if they admitted what they're up to, and I don't think anybody's foolish enough to not believe that they're heavily involved in this. Whether it can be proven or not is going to be what's key for Bob Bowlesby. But that would be the dumbest move on earth, would be to admit your role. Make the courts make you admit that somehow.
Number 2, and this is based on 2 DMs I got. OU and Texas aren't changing their minds anymore. They're not. It's over. It's over. They're not changing their mind.
I don't know.
And by the way, speaking of which, that Dr. Livingstone and Mack Rhoades meeting with Governor Abbott had nothing to do with Texas and Oklahoma. It was more about they're gone. So now let's see what we could do for the remaining Power 5 schools and other schools in the state of Texas. I saw some reactions. They know Texas and Oklahoma were gone when they met with him Tuesday, and now it's official.
Yeah, I think that's maybe you saw a tweet or something from somebody saying, "Oh, well, maybe," but they sent
me DMs, and so I thought I'd put that in there. Like, it's not going to happen considering they're voting tomorrow. And I thought maybe it would drag. There's some thought that it might drag into Friday, so I was kind of hoping it would not happen today, but it did. Number 1, and this is number 1: tattoo it on your back. Nebraska and Arkansas aren't coming to the Big 12. I'm going to say it again. Nebraska and Arkansas aren't coming to the Big 12. It's not going to happen. Stop saying, well, they haven't won that much in their respective conferences. We bleeping know. They're not coming. $50 million. I would punch Smokey in the face in front of his children for half of that. $50 million. I'd let you hit me with my car for a tenth of it. Like, come on.
I'm not that angry about it, but no, they're not coming back to the Big 12.
I'm trying to hear that.
Are you trying to be emphatic with what they're not coming back? And I, as a Nebraska fan, would be insulted if they could win again. No, they're not going to.
I mean, to leave the SEC at this point would be the dumbest move on earth. There's no chance of that happening. And Nebraska, what would be the point either? Even if they came back to the Big 12, they're not going to run it still either. I mean, that's the thing is they wouldn't even come in and be like the automatic champion. So. Either way, they're kind of in the same spot, so why would you want to be in the spot with a lot less of a future and a lot less money?
All right, thanks to our guest today, Cecil Hurt, Tuscaloosa News. Thanks to Dan Luss, sports attorney, Mickey and John Machota, Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys Information, Emma Marquise. Thanks to Hayden Armstrong Sims. Paul is out tomorrow. Craig and I will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock, or are you going to be gone?
No, I'll be here, but the NBA draft's coming up, and Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell are going to be NBA stars later on tonight, so I'll be tuned into that.
And good luck to Maceo and Mark as well. Hopefully they get in that second round.
Good luck to you. Thank you very much. Listening, watching, chatting, texting, calling. We love it. Thank you, SicEm365 Radio. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.